All it takes is one night of tilt queuing to undo months of your progress in your climb. This video, we're going to be talking about no bullshit, practical advice for two things: avoiding tilt and managing your tilt. To win games. We all want to win games. That's what we're all here to do, get some LP. So even if you are a monk mental type player, or you think you're the second coming of Jesus when it comes to dealing with your emotions in the game, this video is still going to be very practical for you. So let's first establish high level, what is tilt? What is our definition of tilt?
Yeah, and just quick side note, Nathan, you are a bit of a mental monk. So I'm going to be interested to probe you throughout this episode. How are you? How did you become the second coming of Jesus? I'm really curious.
That's going to be the gems.
That's a great question.
You're going to have to
Wait
wait,
the book of Nathan.
Yeah.
and you're going to have to wait till the end of the episode to get those tips.
I'm keen to hear on that. So I've got my unofficial definition of tilt straight from my noggin here. Tilt is a term used to describe someone in the process of losing control of their reason and emotional regulation skills, right? Leading this person down that path of self-sabotaging behavior. And self-sabotaging behavior is kind of going to be the giant theme, the overarching theme of this episode, since it goes hand in hand with the topic of tilt. So there are some signs that you could be experiencing some sort of variation of tilt. Now, these signs don't always mean that you are tilted, right? League and I would just say in general competitive endeavors naturally go in hand with emotion, right? We are all going to be a little bit frustrated. We're all going to experience some variation of anger, anxiety, whatever. That goes part and parcel with playing and just being passionate about and wanting to win, right? So I just think it's important to preface that, okay?
It's not actually fully like a negative thing.
No.
It's actually a sign that you care.
Exactly right, because, this is a quick aside, but I think it's a really great place to start in this episode is that a lot of people, sometimes we don't make it clear enough inside of our content that like it's okay to feel certain emotions through your
Otherwise,
journey.
you're not human. You're literally not human.
We all feel frustrated. We all get a little bit upset because we want to win, right? And I think it's important just to manage those expectations. So first and foremost, one of the big signs is toxicity, not only directed at others, but potentially directed at yourself. We've got venting, right? That can be in-game, complaining over Discord. I'm sure you've all played with people that start venting and yapping about how XYZ champion is broken and this shouldn't be allowed to happen, but also in the post-game, right? Venting inside your little Discord community or whatever the hell it might be.
If you join any League of Legends community or Discord, you could probably spend about 20 seconds flicking through some channels and you'll see some form of venting.
I mean, a lot of them have a venting channel.
Yeah, literally
venting.
a venting channel, which is not something we promote inside of our academies. No. We might get into that a bit later. Loss of control over emotions, self-sabotaging behavior, for example, FF voting, even though the game is completely winnable, giving up in a game, even though you know that you could probably win that game.
Checking out
mentally. We'll cover this a little bit more as well throughout the video. Exiting flow state, you're losing that flow state, could potentially be a sign that you're tilting. And then look, we've got the El Clasico self-deprecating language, right? I'm so shit. Why can't I win? But whatever, right? Again, self-deprecating language. So these are just signs that there could be something going wrong. There could be something up that warrants further investigation. So I guess the real question where we're going to start is, why is tilt a problem for solo queue, right? So I want to go through a few of these points and get your thoughts on a few things. So the first one being very simply, lowering your chances of winning not only that game, but future games. And this is where tilt queuing becomes a thing. Charles, I know you're an expert on tilt queuing.
Am I?
I don't know.
I've been there.
I've
absolutely tilt queued myself, as I'm sure pretty much every League of Legends player has at some point in their journey. Seen many people tilt queue as well. And yeah, I think it just ties back to what you were saying at the start, where the idea of tilt is that it's not just an isolated incident. It's something goes wrong or you're in some sort of headspace of negativity, and that like almost damages you in such a way. I view it like you're wounded a bit, and then you carry that wound into your next decision, and then your next decision, and then your next decision, and all of a sudden the game snowballs. You're so tilted when you come out of the game, you're not even in a lucid state. You hit queue up for the next game without even thinking about it, and now we're just in the next one with the same negative headspace.
Trying to force harder and harder.
Yeah.
And then the wounds now become a fully alien. We've ripped open it and the alien comes out. That's the tilt.
Yeah. And then the reason why it's like the alien bursting from your chest is because the negative emotions cause you to miss things in terms of like information gathering in the game, or over prioritizing or under prioritizing certain elements of the match makes you play poorly. And then you start questioning stuff. You start getting angry at your own level of play, which causes you then to play worse. I feel like Tilt, it is very snowbally in nature for sure.
You start questioning reality.
Well, I mean, Lachlan, and we were talking off camera earlier about his experience over in Korea, right? He got to Korean Challenger and he was saying how on the last day before he left, he wanted to play a lot because he was having a lot of fun. Tilt queued all night to 4 a.m., lost hundreds and hundreds of LP, undid, weeks of work that he had, sweated so hard for. And he kind of said, like, he was kind of in his own head, right, with the tilt queue, whereby you don't know if that's just your level of play or are you doing something egregiously wrong. It's actually, again, this is where, in a way, tilt queuing, you've got this lens, like you're looking at the world through this particular lens where you can't be logical about what's actually happening.
Yeah.
Right. And so you're thinking, well, I am playing well. I feel like I'm playing on my level of play. I feel like I'm making good decisions. And it can sometimes feel like that is the case, but you're incapable. You're like you said, you're wounded.
Yeah.
You need to let that wound heal. You need to kind of address that situation before you try to, I guess, deconstruct what's actually going on.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of tied to one of the bigger problems with people spamming games in general, which is that mindset of like, I just need more reps.
Yeah.
So like, if you're losing games, let's say you lose one game, whether it be because you played poorly or it's just the luck of the draw, you want that LP back. It's that whole mindset of like, I lost the LP. This next game, the next half hour of my life, it's not about expressing my best self. It's not about learning. I just want to quickly get the LP back from the game I just lost. And then holy shit, you go into the next game with unrealistic expectations. That causes you to play badly. You lose that game. Oh shit, now I'm 2 fucking games in the hole. I have to play 2 more games to get the LP back.
And it's very easy to piss away 5 hours in a tilt queue, right? Where you're just in that, that spiral. Yeah. And again, you're thinking, I'm 3 games in the hole. I've just lost 3 games in a row. I can't end on this. I got to get that LP back. It took me ages to get that LP. Yeah. And then it got this cascading effect, right? And you're kind of entering a bit of a gambling mindset.
And then
at that
the
stage.
regret after this urge,
the post tilt queue clarity.
it's just like, what have I done? Where did those 5 hours go?
No, the feeling when you get into bed after tilt queuing might be one of the worst feelings on planet Earth.
Like, you have to live with yourself. You have to be stuck with your thoughts.
Like, just what have I done?
And you're trying to go to sleep to go to the next day.
The last game of the tilt queue block as well, you just fucking you queue jungle. Fuck it, I'm gonna play jungle. Just play Lee Sin. Just lose anyway. Just try everything, and then you have to lie there and think about that.
No, but even if you do win that last game, by the way, you still think
you
about
never feel good.
Yeah,
no, you never feel good.
You feel a little bit better, but you know you've made bad decisions.
Yeah.
You pull up the OPGG on your phone, the fucking screen's brightening in your eyes. You're like, oh, God.
Have you seen that? I saw this meme somewhere where it's like a guy at the gym and then like he's like working out and then his phone drops on the floor and or something and it shows like his phone, it's got like his OPGG with all like the losses. I thought it was
That's
so
good
fun.
gym motivation.
Yeah, it's great gym motivation. All right, so another reason why tilt can be a problem for your solo queue is less learning, right? Because you're not actually expressing your best self when you're tilted, right? You're not actually just you're not actually performing at your level. You've always got that excuse in the back of your mind that, well, if I'm not playing at my level of play, what is there to really take away from this, right? You're not able to take accountability for the decisions you're making in that game because deep down, you've given yourself an excuse to basically not learn from the game, right? And this is what really leads, especially if you're in that perpetual cycle and being a victim to tilt, you're just basically stalling out your journey. You're not going anywhere. And that's probably one of the biggest problems of tilt.
Just self-sabotaging. And sorry, not self-sabotaging, sandbagging, basically.
Yes.
You're predetermining an excuse at the start of the match so that when the match ends, you can just say, oh, I was just tilted. Yep. I was just tilted. When you look back on the block in a few days, I was just tilted. That's not my level of play,
And you'd be surprised at how common that is, by the way. Like I mean, I coach, very regularly, and I'm not going to say every single week, but I would say once a fortnight, once every 3 weeks, I might get 2 or 3 people come by and I'll say, oh, so what happened this game? And I'll ask them, why did you make this mistake? And they will literally say in front of my face, oh yeah, I was tilted or whatever. And again, I don't really think they're using it as an excuse. I guess they're just saying that, they know, they're actively aware that they're not expressing their best self. And they know, even though that's going to stall out their learning, they're kind of just like accepted that reality.
Yeah, that's actually one of the bigger reasons why tilt is so bad is it does just completely deny you of any sort of reflection of the game.
Yep.
You can't learn from mistakes. If that mistake wasn't you, it was like you in a fugue state making the mistake.
It was your alter ego.
Yeah,
exactly right.
It's painful.
Another one is it's just a negative experience, right? Not only for you, but for others. I'm sure we can all resonate with that. It doesn't feel fun to play League of Legends when you're in this sort of tilted mindset, right? And obviously that's it's a very important thing that, League ultimately is a hobby. You need to enjoy your time on the Rift or at least not hate it. Yep. I think that's a very important thing. And then lastly, just degrading the quality of your relationship with the game. And I do think tilt queuing especially really tarnishes your relationship with the game by creating narratives because again, when you're playing League of Legends with this mindset or this approach of being tilted or tilt queuing, you leave yourself exposed to weird little belief systems and narratives. You're not basing your view in through this like lens of logic. It's largely emotional.
You're very fragile.
Very fragile.
To narratives. It's sort of like you...
Or you're just going to say, that was bullshit. That shouldn't be allowed. Or I should have won this because of X, Y, Z. You're going to be justifying, you're going to be looking for the reasons why you should have won.
Yeah.
Despite, and not really get into the details. It's very difficult to get into the details and see how you're actively contributing to the game when you're kind of already in the mindset of looking for excuses.
I want to say as well at this point in the episode, like, you don't have to be tilted off planet Earth for things to negatively affect you and stop you from like playing your best or even improving, right? It's like, we're going to talk about it later, that there's like a scale of how tilted you can be. And there are a lot of players who are like permanently in a micro level of tilt. They're like maybe 2 out of 10 on the tilt scale all the time. And then there's some people who are maybe sometimes like low on the scale, but then they go to like fucking 8 or 9.
Like they have high highs and low lows.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's actually a really intelligent point, Charlie, because in a way, sometimes that kind of those like micro doses of tilt are in a way more toxic than an extreme level of tilt because it's less obvious and it's harder.
Subtle,
it's more subtle and it's harder. It's more pervasive and it's harder for you to actually identify what's going wrong. And you can kind of live in that, that perpetual state of tilt and that becomes your norm. That becomes your baseline. And then people wonder, like, why am I not improving? Why am I not getting better at the game? And this is where the whole concept or the whole topic of stage 4 issues really comes into play. So I definitely want to kind of park that. Let's come back to that. I think that's a really, really important point here. So now we're going to get into some spicy stuff.
This is the fun bit. This is the triggers. So when we talk about 10 key triggers of tilt that we've experienced either ourselves or our coaching clients. So a trigger in this case, it's a specific event that leads the player down the rabbit hole of potentially tilting. So everyone's going to have different triggers. Some might be more extreme than others. Some might just never, you guys might be listening to this, I've never actually experienced that trigger. Oh, it's interesting other players experience that. Maybe it's also interesting to hear as well, understanding a little bit why your teammates are tilting as well, putting ourselves more in empathy of like why our teammates might be playing poorly. Yeah. So let's go through the list, 1 to 10. First one is having a series of hard games in a row or just losing a few games in a row. That's the most obvious one, right? That's what you were talking about, Charles, about got to gain back the LP.
Yep. Entering LP debt that must be paid.
Right, but this is the whole, I would say this is number one for a good reason, right?
Because if you have easy games, you're winning. It's very easy it's like when everything's going great, it's easy to make good decisions, right? So
I would also say like you can actually view this as an inverse rule as well, where if you're the kind of player who in your 3 block can lose 2 games and then play a fucking awesome 3rd game, that's a sign that you're not tilted at all and you have a really good relationship with the game, which I see a lot of that in Bot Lane Academy as well when people post like in solo queue reflections, it's like, oh, I had these really 2 rough games, but I'm so proud of myself because I was able to bounce back and really perform at my level. I didn't swap champs. I didn't do anything weird. I just stuck it out. And I think that's the opposite of what this could look like.
Yeah. And it's also kind of, it goes hand in hand with one of the biggest emotional elements of the league journey, which is LP.
Yeah.
Right. Anything to do with LP, right? People get very, very emotional, right? So it is a big trigger for a lot of people. And I think that if I'm going to kind of speculate, one of the biggest reasons as to why this can be such a triggering event for people is because they understand how difficult it is to climb and how far back they're going, right, by losing 3 games. Like Nathan, you famously said, you always say on the podcast, like, one loss is actually
40 LP.
40 LP because you got to win that game to get back to where it was. And then you got to win another one to kind of climb past that point. So if you're losing 3 games in a row, you got to win, what is it? You got to win.
Well, to climb, you would have to, that's 120 LP.
Right. Because you've gone down in the hole, you got to retrieve back that LP and then you got to win more to gain, right? So I think a lot of people intuitively understand that, like, if I'm losing 3 in a row, holy moly, it's probably going to take me quite a long time to kind of quote unquote get back that LP. And so whenever you're in this mindset of like clawing for the LP, clawing for that 20 LP, that 34, you know, you're already in a very mentally vulnerable position, I feel like, you know what I mean? Because you're not focusing on what you're taking away from these games. You're already in this very like vulnerable, like you were saying before, fragile state of mind. And again, I'm not saying it's always bad to think about LP. We all are human. We want LP, but you just can't really make it the center point of your journey because again, LP is a byproduct of your level of play.
Yeah, I think like looking at the why, it just goes out the window when this happens. Like, but I also think like the quality of the loss and
so that's what I was going to say. So the most tilting games for me, at least, is when I play really well and I'm still losing the game, and for like factors that may be a bit more outside of my control.
Interesting.
Because you'd think to yourself, wow, is it like for me to win this game, like maybe I could see a little bit of things that I could be doing better, but are you serious? Is it this hard to just get a goddamn win when I'm seeing people on the enemy team they're not even close to playing the level that I played, but they won the game. And you're actually thinking, that's where the victim mindset comes in. It's like, you know, why me? Why is it so hard? Like, you know, getting angry at, you know, God
how is it that I beat this guy in lane, or I've outplayed my counterpart, yet this guy has the better teammates and he was able to win this game.
That doesn't feel fair.
It doesn't feel fair, yeah.
Well, the tilt occurs in both instances. I think this probably splits people down the middle. Some people get really tilted when they play poorly and lose, and some people get really tilted when they play perfectly and lose. I'm actually more in the camp of I get more frustrated and like tilted when I play like shit and lose. You know, when other people lose the game for me, that doesn't really bother me at all these days. It's more like when I play well. So I think like I don't know what lends me and you to have different opinions on that, but I think that a lot of people have either.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. There's a lot of people that I've worked with that say like the moment they make one mistake, right, in a game,
yes,
right, they just check out, right, because in their mind they don't deserve to win that game, right.
I've experienced a lot of that. I used to, but not much anymore because I thought I played early game champions and early game was so important. I've talked about that a lot on the podcast about I would mentally check out if I made one early game mistake because I'm playing, you know, Jarvan and I missed an EQ or whatever it is.
I mean, mine's just throwing in the mid game. I mean, it's again, we've still on trigger number 1, which is losing a game. So many things can lose you a game, but if I play a really solid early game and then I throw in the mid game, that's a massive trigger for me for sure. Because it just leads me to go into my next game. I reach the mid game. I'm making a small mistake. Here we fucking go again. You know, the cycle kind of perpetuates itself.
Yeah. And so like, again, I think we'll go through a lot of these triggers. We're going to be posing a lot of problems. We're not going to be posing a ton of solutions. Later on, we'll talk a little bit more about the solutions.
Number 2, players, like your teammates, checking out in a game, AFKing, trolling, seeing other people be toxic.
That's a big one for a lot of people. Teammates typing in the chat and like checking out of the game.
So the psychology around that is I feel less motivated to win this game because I am going to have to pull the boats, I guess, carry the boats in this one. And then they're the toxic person. They're the unpleasant person. They're going to get LP. So I want to in a way self-sabotage their game. I would also say it's more the fact of, yeah, that's the main
There's
one.
a lot of angles here because I think as well, when certain people see it, like let's say there's an AFK on their team or a troll, they feel like it's like a giant waste of time. It's like, you know, I'm spending my time after work or whatever the hell this is my free time.
Yeah.
I'm queuing up, I'm getting my champion, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to learn. All I want to do is get in and play my game, and I've got some idiot here ruining my game, ruining my learning experience, ruining my ability to kind of climb, right? And I think that's where a lot of the tilt comes from. It's not even the fact that, you know, it's like that person wants to be a troll, whatever, but the fact that it's impacting my journey, ruining my experience, tilts the hell out of a lot of people.
And it's like combination of multiple. It's like you might have 2 like really normal games before that, which again you lost, but let's say you played it out of your mind or whatever it is. And then and then you're hit with that game.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, trigger
KO
into
punch, that
trigger
one.
into, you know, so there's multiple triggers that happen at the same time in between games.
I think we've all been there, right? Where you think, oh, and I played a good game. I know if I can replicate this level of play, I'm going to win. And then, you sweat for it. And then maybe even have like this 40-minute banger where you maybe just win or whatever. And then you hit with that with like a troll or an AFK.
Yeah.
That can send
lose
people
hope.
into a fucking doom spiral for like a week. I'm telling you, like you can obliterate your journey off a situation like that. I'm sure many people watching this have experienced
because
that.
they might also hear this podcast and, we talk a lot about long term. It's eventually the system figures out itself and you start to think that can't be, that's not true, guys.
Well, I
I'm
think
sorry. I'm
at
5
that
games
point-
in and then it's just this bullshit into this bullshit into this bullshit.
Well, I think at that point, and again, we'll talk about this in the tilt kind of levels of tilt, but there is a point where like once you get to a level of tilt, once you it's kind of a threshold. Once you get to that point where it's like it puts you over the edge, you're at that point of no return where there is no such thing as long-term thinking, and I think that scenario that you've just described where it's like, I've had tough game into a troll or into an AFK is the KO punch that sends you over that cliff and there's, see you later, right? I'm gone. I'm in full self-sabotage mode and no one can bring me back anymore.
Also along the same lines of trolls, I feel like the kind of person that gets triggered by trolls, they're prone to seeing phantom trolls in their games as well. They'll see a teammate like make a mistake and they're like, that guy's trolling. Or like they'll see a champion picked in maybe a place it shouldn't be picked or is picked weirdly. Oh, that guy's fucking trolling.
So this is a quick aside, but I think this is a really great point, Charles, because you see there's a lot of like these weird content creators out there in the leagues here where they do these crazy sophisticated, they do these like rage bait clips where they talk about losers queue and, what's it called? EOMM, the engage, what's it called? Like the
engagement optimized matchmaking.
Yeah, all that, and they talk, and then they use all these like crazy like games and case studies, like to prove this thing, right? And in a way, these are really intelligent people that are like piecing. They've had these really negative experiences, and they're piecing together this like beautifully constructed narrative. And you're right, when you become beaten down by this sort of thing, it's you become hypersensitive. And when you kind of get into that kind of mindset of being hypersensitive to the trolls and the things that are influencing your journey, you can start creating incredibly sophisticated narratives that will literally in a way validate.
It's confirmation bias.
Exactly right. Yeah. Confirmation bias. And it gets so extreme with those beliefs and that, again, the sensitivity towards trolls and stuff. Like, oh, this guy made that one mistake or this guy picked this troll pick. Look at me, I'm the victim. You can get in a really nasty spiral there as well.
And we've seen some of our people that join the WTL academies, the long-term players are some of the hardest to work with and actually break because they've created not just one of those super sophisticated narratives, the confirmation bias. They have like 15 or 20 of them. That
We've got a whole Marvel universe of heroes or villains.
Yes.
And we're not bringing this up in a judgmental way. We all have our own little weird biases and narratives and belief systems. Like, we've mentioned this on the podcast many times. So it's more about gaining an understanding of what your little weird niche belief system is and just being a bit aware of it, being mindful of it, right? So again, we'll come back to that later.
Number 3, making the same mistakes over and over again. So this is more like you personal.
I would say this is probably the most common one. I'm just going to speak for the Midland Academy anyway.
I would say for people that actually want to improve and clearly know that they're the rank that they deserve to be.
Yeah, in the WTL Academy specifically, because we attract a certain type of person who wants to get better at the game and they're dedicating time and energy and money, right, to getting better at the game. This is something that tilts the hell out of people, right? They're queuing up. I've got this learning objective.
They know the mistakes.
They're
know
aware of the mistake.
They can see. They even can feel themselves about to make the mistake in the game. They know they're going to make the mistake.
And you'll get a message saying like, "Here we go again, Curtis. I've died to the same thing, or I've rushed my ability again." And and they just lose their mind. And again, it gets very tilting. And the moment they make that mistake in game, because now they're painfully aware of it, they're just done. Right? Get me out of this game.
My Jarvan EQs, I can lose confidence real quick in the space of a game because I'm missing the basic EQs. Like Curtis, you've seen me miss some ridiculously bad EQs, and then that's a tilt trigger for me.
Yep.
I will start tilting and then have this narrative like throughout the rest of the game, I'm going to keep stuffing up these really basic EQs.
Yeah. I mean, the way I view it for you, Nathan, is like, in your mind, you're like, okay, now I have to win this game without landing an EQ.
No,
There's a
that's
bit of
the extreme.
positive. I don't think it's like ultra tilt. It might be tilty, but it's also like accepting it, you know? I feel like it's almost like a negative acceptance. Like, this is who I am. I missed one.
I'm the person who misses
that's-
EQs.
That's me.
I need to
head down in shame.
solve this game without hitting a single EQ.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think is going through your head. Yes.
Yeah, again, I think there's a lot to talk about though, because I think we all have little things with specific champions, right? Where it's like, there's champs that we might feel like we have a toxic relationship with, champs that we actively play in our pool, and we make an error with that particular ability, and we've had so many painful experiences with it in the past that it kind of brings up this whole like, kind of like, I'm not going to use the word trauma, but like we've had so many negative experiences in the past. It's almost like, oh, you're fucking kidding me. I made this mistake again.
I mean, just to bring up the Clash game we played on last weekend, I played Ezreal. I played Ezreal for 12 years at this point. The last game of Clash, I was carrying the game, really hard game. We were against a team with Distortion, who is one of the mid lane coaches, playing really well in Syndra. I was playing Ezreal. I was like 12-2 or something, my game to carry. And I just E forward on the mid wave and lose the game for my team. Just die. And how many times have I done that?
Yeah, how many times have you done that?
And what was I like in my chair after that happened? I was thinking about that for like, 24 hours. I knew I couldn't touch the game. I didn't touch the game. I had to. I was like fully flat in my chair. Like, what have I just done? Just like the pain of that experience. And like,
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably, if I was to put a number, probably about 800 to 900 times you've made that mistake and lost the game.
yeah. No.
Not that far. I can't be 800.
I haven't eat forward on the midwave and died 800 to 900 times.
But
maybe I have.
No, no way. It's not that specific.
Not that specific.
But you like over 12 years
Yeah,
200
playing
times.
Israel. I'm thinking more like 200 times
Okay.
or something.
Yeah, for
right.
sure.
Some iteration of like an E forward or like an aggressive play where you die and you are the carry and you lose the game with Ezreal.
If we're talking about like some sort of like overreach in general, then now we're talking in thousands. But yeah, Ezreal E forward.
Ezreal specifically E forward.
But that just triggers me. Ezreal E forward because I know because it's actually I might be skipping ahead in my list a little bit here, but it's because I know the judgment of everyone else. It's actually insecurity if I'm to read into it because I know that everyone else around me thinks that now I'm just the classic Ezreal player eating forward. That's actually what it comes down to, doesn't it? It's actually judgment, and it's like insecurity because I know I'm a good Ezreal. I if I really think about it, I'm like, mistake kind of makes sense. Like I was just trying my best to carry, whatever. It's my level of play. But in the moment, I'm just like, all eyes on me. I've just fucked the game. I think it's that all eyes on me. I fucked the game thing.
Let's park that. I think that's a really good point. I do want to talk about that later on.
Yeah.
Okay, number 4, and this is what everyone, I'm pretty sure, can relate to. We recently just did an episode on how to beat the 30 most annoying champions, is versing certain champions. Shakos of the world, Rengars, what else was on that list?
Neferi.
Zed,
Mal.
Neferi,
Talon.
You know, you got scaling champs like the Cassidans of the world, Smolder.
Right, we all have our poison, right?
Yep.
Everyone's got their kryptonite. There's a champ out there for everyone that they see it get one kill, and like it's like flashback. Here we go again. This year he's got his first blood. All right, game over. And they literally, it's not even a logical response. Because again, this whole thing about tilt is you're losing control of your emotional regulation, right? You're not now thinking logically about the game. You're now in this mindset of like, again, very emotional, right? Very, very, very emotional. You're thinking, all right, here we go again. He's got a kill. He's going to 1v9. And then you're just entering this weird fugue state of like playing the victim and just letting the game kind of play out.
The way I kind of view it as an analogy is imagine like as you're playing the game, an event like this happens, like the enemy pick Rengar and the Rengar gets first blood on the enemy team. It's like you start seeing the game in a lower resolution, like this bit of crinkly paper in front of your eyes, and you can still see the game, but it's fucked, and your view of reality is just distorted, and you can't make sense. Everything becomes warped. Yeah. Like that's kind of how I view it.
Especially when you see that pattern, like you've seen that champion do that thing so many times. You think how it's so obvious, or it's so like like the Rengar first blood or whatever. I know Curtis, you would say about like a Hecarim that like full clears towards the bot gets a double kill bot. It's like the amount of times that's happened, it's hard to not create narratives.
I think a part of it though is that it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way, though. This is why I think it's really dangerous, because let's say I have this narrative that the moment a Rengar gets a kill in the early game, that my chances of winning that game are super, super, super. Let's say that's my narrative, right? Now that I've got that belief system in game, and that's impacting my way of viewing that game, that's gonna alter my decision making.
Self-sabotage. This is
in particular ways, but in very subtle ways. It's not gonna be like, it's not like I'm tilted and giving up. I'm still playing the game, but it's gonna impact like maybe my choices, some of my choices in the game, or maybe my confidence heading into particular fights. I might miss angle some abilities or whatever, and then because I'm not expressing my best self anymore, the likelihood that Rengar is gonna win the game is just gone up. So now I'm just fueling that narrative even more. So for a lot of us, there is this kind of perpetuating cycle of like, you know, that champion is strong, and now I told you I'm right. Like, you can't prove me wrong every time. And it's like, you know, I'm sure we've all got that. And that's how it happens.
So then now we've got the inverse of that. Of number 5, we said playing with certain champs on your team. This is one that's a little bit different from the trolling picks. There might be some champions that are very viable. You know they can sort of win games, but you just don't win games with these type of champions.
AD carries are very prone to this. Some people really hate playing with Sona. I'm going to put myself out there and just be honest for a second. I used to ban Sona because I didn't want to play with it. And now I love playing with Sona. I completely got over that narrative. I have such a high win rate with Sona. I think it's so good. But it took Coach Cupcake from Bowling Academy to kind of show me what Sona can do. And just like, I was probably winning a lot of games with Sona as well, but it's just frustrating to lane with like a Sona sometimes. They don't do much. People hate laning with Shaco support. People fucking hate laning with Shaco support. A lot of people, very frustrating. Any off-meta support, honestly, as an AD carry, people they bring these VODs and they just I can tell they're just angry at their support. And what it does is it kind of ties to your previous point. They play worse because they don't play with their support. They don't see any of the strengths. They see all the weaknesses. They refuse to like take opportunities or accept the reality of the matchup. And then they lose with that support again. And now it's like, well, shit. I've learned nothing from this experience, and next time I get paired with a champion, the same thing's going to happen.
And sometimes this is where tilt can be really, again, really scary. Is I used to have this with Nidalee. I used to have I used to enter subconsciously, or maybe even kind of consciously, actually, self-sabotaging variation of a self-sabotaging mode with Nidalee. Like, I would have discussed, why are you so I wouldn't say this, but in my mind, why is this person thinking that they can play Nidalee?
Yeah.
Right. And in a way, I kind of part of me wanted to lose that game to like make them feel how useless they are. So then they're going to not play it in the future.
Oh, wow. That's what so it's like sort of helping you in the future by not letting
it's
that
kind of
person
like,
play.
I want to make it very clear to you how useless your champion is. You can't play this champion. Stop. So in a way,
That's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
and it's the
by the way.
self-fulfilling prophecy, and
your collallateral damage.
and I'm collateral.
It's
Yeah, exactly right. Martyrdom. I'm just I'm doing it for the greater good. That's
community.
that's how nuts you can get sometimes in your tilt.
Yeah.
Like, and I remember when I was a notorious tilter, I'm a bit toxic back in the day when I was a young
Whippersnapper.
kid, whippersnapper. I would view that. I would come into games, and we'll cover this as one of the points is. Or maybe if we can make it the next one, you're getting tilted by playing with certain players.
Yes, they deserve to lose.
Yeah,
That's
and
what
I would
people
view
say.
myself as a martyr. It's like, I know this guy. I really fundamentally disagree with the way he plays the game. I don't think he should be winning this game.
Yeah.
I don't think he deserves to be in this ELO bracket. So I'm going to sacrifice myself to lose this game, to protest, to ensure that, and this
Very
is
common. This is very common.
And it is tilt. It's the tilt is stemming from the player in this case, and incredibly toxic, right?
Because the moment that you're in the game with them, you're tilted. You're tilting. It's the
Exactly
trigger.
right.
You're not just tilted, by the way. This is like you're so far gone at this
Oh,
point.
you're so far gone.
This is level 10. This is
if you're at that stage, there's no one is going to be able to pull you aside and be like, Curtis, this is probably not the right decision. Because if someone said that to me, I'm like, I know. I'm still doing it.
I'm aware.
I'm aware.
Yeah.
So
Get out of the way.
That's the next level, right? So, and again, I do want to make this, I'm not sitting here to justify any of this behavior.
No.
I'm just saying that, I've experienced it. We've all probably experienced variations of these certain things we're talking about.
Next one, number 6, is confusing game states. Simply just not knowing how to win and just getting tilted.
Yeah, I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, pretty self-explanatory. I do think
hard games.
Hard games. We have hard games, and that can bother people.
Feeling,
how do I
feeling
win?
helpless in the game. It's the feeling of helplessness that creates, I think.
I would say this is very relevant for certain archetypes. So we
Yeah.
see this a lot with assassin players.
Okay.
Where, they get ahead and they just don't know how to translate that lead and they don't know how to win the game. They see 2 tanks on the enemy team or something. And then the moment they see those 2 tanks or they're like, I can't win. I don't know how to win.
Yeah.
And they get really frustrated. They get really tilted in these certain mid-game scenarios. Again, may resonate with some, may not others.
I was going to say scaling champs. Like I was thinking to your Kale video and also just thinking of like people playing like Jinx. If you're playing like Jinx 80 carry, 2 losing lanes, jungle's not doing too well. How do I win this game? And the tough pill to swallow is like maybe you can't, or maybe you just have to hold on for dear life and like just play pure losers game, boring gameplay, catch waves, wait for the enemy to throw, and then play really well later on. But that's a tilting experience for some who haven't had that that feeling.
Next up, we have getting negative LP gains. You're winning the game. You're getting plus 18. You're losing minus 20 to LP. And then you're thinking to yourself, what's the point? Getting tilted because it's something that I feel like it's out of my control, right? It's out to get me.
Again, relatively self-explanatory. I think that's a reasonable tilt trigger, right? You got to start to realize that, okay, there's a reason for that, but it sucks. And just that putting all that work into winning a game and getting negative LP, like what I mean, again, when we're saying negative LP, it's not like you're not gaining, you're just losing more than you're gaining, right?
Yep. It might be like 1 or 2 LP in either direction.
Right. Because
Yeah.
then you're thinking, well, like I need to win an overwhelming amount of games to be able to climb. And it already is so hard to win a singular game of League of Legends. How the hell am I going to climb out of this, right?
Yeah.
So which is a reasonable tilt trigger.
Number 8 is playing with the same player / troll multiple games in a row. We covered this
covered it
in the
already.
playing with certain champs on your team. So
Well, it's kind of like what Curtis said, like targeting a player as well. It's kind of the similar thing. It can be like a certain player's tendencies. Like, again, I feel like bot laners are very, very prone to this because you're kind of standing next to someone in line while you're playing the game. And like, you notice them do something in one game, queue up for the next game, fuck, it's them again. Maybe they're angry at me because I lashed out at them last game, or maybe they just got to play the same
this
way.
is probably a little bit more of a Halo biased trigger. When you're in the high Apex tiers, you will frequently see similar players. And it's something that you guys, most Apex tier players, have to deal with.
next one here we can talk a little bit about is when your main champion is getting banned or you're getting auto-filled. Basically, champ select is just not going how you want to, you're off the surf, Chad's off the surf. He wants to play a game with Darius, but is getting banned.
Yeah.
Or he's getting auto-filled and he can't play Darius.
Oh, I get frustrated as fuck when this happens. If I queue up for my 3 block off the surf and I just get put mid, just get it off my screen, go away. And then I get 80 carry the next game and I'm just pissed already. So
and
bleed
again,
together.
League, it's a big time commitment. Games are long, right? It's not
Yeah.
like you're just playing a quick 10-minute game of whatever. It's a commitment. You might be spending 30 minutes and then the queue and then the champ select and then this, and it's a whole thing, right? And nowadays, especially with the penalties and dodging and everything, it can be a very very annoying thing for people.
And this is the ultimate sort of combination trigger as well. It combos with triggering, the hard game or the playing with the troll, like the back to back to back of all these type of triggers.
Yeah.
That main autofill game hurts.
Yeah, that's
a
when you
lot.
think the world's out to get me.
That's a left, right, good night type scenario
Yeah.
there. You don't want to be in that situation.
Yeah, and this is why these are the reasons why people quit the game, right? We're literally labeling the reasons why people quit League of Legends. And the last one here, number 10, I didn't write this one. These two said junglers is something that tilts you. Now, I'm a very amazing jungler, so I don't know what this is like.
Of course you do. Everyone hates junglers.
Yeah, that's true.
As a jungler, you're always the first to blame when things start to go wrong, Nathan. You know
correct.
that.
Yes, I do. And I see in coaching sessions all the time, junglers ruin games. They can't help themselves. After they finish their camps, if there's no camps on the map, they will force a dragon or do a gank and they'll ruin the game. They cannot simply stand there for 5 seconds. They think that they're
Tick it
losing.
on the bingo card, junglers forcing ganks. Yeah, every episode.
That's right.
Everyone's got their bingo card ready to go.
Yeah, I'd love to see a WCL bingo or a Broken by Concept bingo card.
So what we got? Bam, triple kill.
Chat on the surf.
Channel
Chat on
Surf's
the
a new
surf.
edition.
It's a
That's
new
pretty
edition.
good.
Got to figure out what else is on the bingo card.
Yeah.
I mean, look, for me personally, nowadays I'm not as impacted, but I have notoriously in the past had games where I would look at my jungler's behavior.
Yeah.
And that has been a tilt trigger for me.
think about the jungle role, right? Like, so jungle's like the X factor in League of Legends games, and they can technically do a lot. And you're laning, and you can clearly see the easiest, freest kill in your life, and your jungler might even be in the proximity, but they're just hitting their gromp. Do you know, like that of course is going to be tilting to a player, because you can see how easy it is, but this is where understanding the jungle roles
It
are
looks
different things.
easy.
Yeah,
It looks easy. And
It's
how
so
many
simple.
how many times have you been in this scenario, Charles, where like you're dying to a gank or something, right? And then you're in the death screen, or something like that, or you're chunked, you're sitting under tower, just completely
or
chunked.
you saw it 15 seconds ahead, and maybe you're even pinging it. It's so obvious to you that you're going to get dove or whatever.
Yeah,
it
and then
is.
you're in this scenario, you're just sitting there, and then you just like pan your camera
to your jungler.
to your jungler. You're just like
100%.
and
And they're
just
just like graves hitting the gromp. And
yeah,
you're
it's like a grave shooting the grub or in Italy, like
Yeah.
just doing a scuttle or something. You're like, okay, that's not fun.
quite
And
interesting.
It's quite interesting. And then you got to restrain yourself to to not dwell on that and bring it back to reality. And then the worst is when you see that, and then they try to do something on the other side of the map to compensate for that gank, and then they die.
Oh God. Yeah.
Like that's when that's one of my tilt triggers, specifically with junglers. Like this is when next Nathan's on Rek'Sai, killing my bot lane, bam, triple kill.
Yeah.
The enemy jungler dies to invade the top side. The jungler insta resets, goes back on top side, pushes them out, or they picks them on a rift or something, and then
This is conversations making me feel like anxious. Like junglers, I think junglers do get to me sometimes.
I think junglers get to everyone. I think that's just the nature of the game, like you were saying.
I'm just thinking like I'm winning lane, I'm pushing. I'm negative terminology, but all I want my jungler to do is hover my lane so I can keep doing that, maybe counter gank.
Yep.
And then I watch them gank top.
Yep.
And die.
But this is the thing,
I'm
right?
just like,
Because
they choose the complete wrong wing.
okay,
con
so
or
the
something.
reason this is a massive thing is because we all want the jungler to hover us. Every lane wants the
that's
jungler.
of
The
course,
jungler
of course.
can't be in 3 places at once, and the jungler also needs to clear camps.
Yeah.
So the jungler fundamentally has such a difficult job because they've got to look at their top, the mid, the bot, and they look at all their
I
camps.
I don't care at
But
the moment,
the
though.
laners are not thinking about that. The lane is automatically assuming that all your camps are going to be magically, off spawn,
And they can
deleted,
come on demand.
and they can come on demand,
They
and
can
they don't need to
teleport to you.
recall nothing.
Yeah, they've got infinite movement speed as well.
Exactly right. So there's like this massive bias with laners in that regard.
And this is sort of me talking about me tilting at myself, making the same mistakes over and over again. But a big part of what helped me climb from like the master tier area to grandmaster challenger was never missing a dive opportunity.
Yeah.
But to learn that, I saw in the game like, shit, like I did an extra camp too much. Like I missed that dive window because I didn't look at, the wave building up, or didn't see someone heavy trad at this moment. And I can understand from the laner's perspective, that's very tilting, because a dive denying 2 waves and getting some plates is the highest value play in the game you can basically do, especially in the earlier stages. And the jungler's the one that's going to, amplify that. And me missing that opportunity, it's huge. And all it takes, again, of just getting baited by that camp, or just recalling, or just being too slow or something like that, and missing that opportunity, it is extremely tilting.
And we'll be talking about later on how do we deal with this, because I do think there's a lot of like key, really great information to if you're struggling with this. Like,
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I've got some good
we need to
things.
get into that.
Okay, next up here, we're up to the top 3 sources of tilts. This is more high level.
Yeah, so like again,
zooming out now?
Yeah, we're
What-
zooming out, right? Because a lot of what we've
Because
covered, all this,
these are kind of outcomes, right? It's like I'm tilted at this, but you're saying there's something deeper than that?
So these are all these triggers, right? They're stemming from some underlying root cause issue.
This is root cause.
Right. And so we're going to get into the 3 big root causes. These are what will, if you understand these, it's going to give you a much better chance at dealing with your tilting games.
But
Okay.
deep diving into psychology here, Charles.
That's where we're going to put our
Well,
psychology cap on.
you're not a neuroscientist.
I'm not a neuroscience. I'm not a neurosurgeon either.
Not a neuroscientist. That's what you said.
Yeah,
I'm not a
neurosurgeon. I don't operate on brains.
Got it.
So the first one here is unmanaged expectations. And this is, I would say, 85, maybe 90% of the source of all tilt in League of Legends. And so, like, very simply what this means is that you've got this idea of what you think should happen.
Yeah, I mean, use junglers again, example.
Exactly right. The laner saying, I think my jungler should do X. They're not doing that. And so in your case, we're just wrong. We're delusional. And so the reality is not matching our picture of what we think should happen, right?
Yep.
And so when these expectations don't get met, we understandably get upset, right? We get frustrated. We get a little bit emotional, okay?
Let's use the example of your buddy, let's say Chad again. You guys plan to meet up at 8 o'clock and then Chad just really disappoints you. That's the expectation. 8 o'clock. He comes at like 9:30 or whatever it is. That's gonna be disappointing.
Right, it's going to be disappointing, right?
Yeah.
And so tying it back to League of Legends, these are some classic things. I thought I'd be able to climb in this amount of time. We see this all the time, right? People coming from other games, right? I thought I'd be able to get to this rank in no time at all.
Yeah, I've been playing for this long. I'm still X rank.
Or that as well. I've been playing League for 6 years and I'm still in gold or whatever the hell it is. And again, it's an expectation that they should be able to climb faster. Another one is I thought I would be winning. I thought I would be able to win on this champion by now. They're playing a complex champion, right? They're still negative win rate by game 30.
Yeah.
They're losing their marbles, right? Then they start to lead to a lot of tilt. Another one is I was really good at WoW. Right, I was a ex-gladiator like Nathan Mott on the shaman casting spells, and I'm stuck in iron. Right, so the reality is that again, you've got this expectation because of how good you are at World of Warcraft that you're going to be amazing in League of Legends, and so when that expectation doesn't meet reality, we get upset, we get tilted. So this can extend to your ability to win certain games from certain game states. Right, it's like I'm fed on now. I'm fed in this game, or I've done a great job in the early game. I should be able to win these games. Like I deserve.
beat my lane, my opponent.
Playing way better than this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, if we go back to any of these triggers, right, whether the first one, the troll, even the second one, the trolls, right? We have AFKs and trolls, right? Well, that's
Even the first one goes, I expect to at least have a 50% win rate, something like that. So when I'm met with like losses, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't comport with my view of reality.
I expect that there's no way that I'm going to have a few hard games in a row, right?
Or I expect that my the outcome of the game should correlate perfectly with how I play.
Yes.
So if I play perfectly and I play my definition of really good, I should win.
I deserve
that
to
game.
win.
I deserve to. I expect to
and
win.
so these are all unrealistic expectations that are not based in reality of what the League of Legends solo queue experience is all about, right?
Yes.
You're one player on the Rift with 9 other players, so you're only going to have limited impact in every single game. League's also an incredibly there's a lot of variance,
Chaos.
There's a lot of chaos. So even if you outperform your lane opponent, and even if you do play well in the game, that doesn't mean you're going to win more than 55 or 60% of your games, right? Because again, you only have that limited impact. So you are going to have a lot of games that are very, very difficult. The matchmaking system needs to see how you respond in a wide variety of lobbies and scenarios to kind of gauge on your level of play. We could sit here and you could analyze all the actual reasons, but fundamentally, if you're struggling with any of those tilt triggers, start to ask yourself, what is the expectation there that I'm having that potentially is maybe not correct, not reasonable for me to have, okay? And so I do think that there's nothing wrong with having expectations, right? And we're going to cover this a little bit later on about how to deal with tilt, but like, you can have certain expectations on your things that you can control, right? You can have an expectations about my level of intensity, my level of focus. I can have expectations on how am I going to deal with my emotions in this scenario. These are all personal things that are absolutely in my control. The moment you start to have expectations of things that are not in your control, that's when things get very, very slippery. And there is also a very big difference between having a hypothesis about something, or you want something to happen, but you're not absolutely needing it to happen.
And the difference in those two things and the way it manifests is if you have a hypothesis, you're always ready to adapt.
Yes.
So it's that embracing of reality, that third step in our ACE framework where you acknowledge the best play is a bit of a hypothesis, isn't it? We're hypothesizing what we think should happen. We're acknowledging that. We then communicate that with our team, and then we have to embrace reality. And a lot of people get really hung up on not embracing reality. Some very stubborn decision making.
Well, because the game state changes so quickly in League,
Things move fast.
The things move fast, and think about, you have to like change your expectations or adapt like every 30 seconds. It's actually really difficult. That's why a lot of people struggle to climb, is they're just so bad at that embrace reality, adapting to the game.
It's interesting. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and because I feel as though the longer you play League, right? Let's say you play League for 5 years. Over the course of those 5 years, what you're doing is, if you're open-minded and you're curious, you're actually refining exactly, you're like basically dialing in all of your expectations. because your expectations when you first start playing League is you don't really know what you're getting yourself into.
That's why you have so much fun.
Exactly right. So either you
beginning.
don't have any expectations and you're childlike, you're just kind of being this student in a, this kid in a sandpit or some shit. But then as it goes on, you're like, I actually can't expect this. I got to be more careful about how I approach this. And you start to basically rein in your expectations about what the game really is about. And it sometimes does take a few years playing League of Legends to really understand, what have I got myself into? Like, I can honestly say, like, it takes most people probably a few years of playing the game to really understand what League of Legends is about and what they can expect, what they can't expect, what's a reasonable expectation, what's an unreasonable expectation. And it's very difficult. I don't view it as like, oh, you just hear this podcast and just got to manage my expectations. Well, what does that mean tangibly? Well, it means that you have an understanding of what League of Legends is about. You understand the limitations of the solo queue ladder and the challenges of the solo queue ladder. You understand game flow and variance and large sample size of games and the difficulty of the game. You understand all these things to create this like very coherent, logical view of the game. It's a long-term journey of building your own little, you know what I mean? Building your own little view of the game.
Yeah. And I think one really important ingredient is that it is just confidence as well. You need to believe that you can win hard games and that you can win games where nothing goes your way as well. Like, I'm just thinking again from the AD carry perspective, a lot of people ask questions around like, how do I play this matchup when my support just stands behind me? Or how do I play with this weird support champion? It's like, my answer a lot of the time is, dude, just kind of chill, let them cook, and then just win later on. But that's just like really foreign. Like the idea that you need to have basically no expectations of your teammates. That's what we'll get into later on. But and like how you kind of deal with that is you just need to be self-confident in yourself to kind of like, as Nathan was saying, like carry the boats, right? You need to have the utmost confidence in your own ability to carry. And that kind of puts your teammates, they fade into the background a little bit more.
And another thing here just on expectations, speaking for myself, I have this really weird view where it's like, I don't expect anything of myself in terms of like tangibly what my scoreline's going to be. I have zero expectations. Like, I don't expect myself to come into the game and pop off and go 6-0. But I have standards, right? I have expectations of how I'm going to conduct myself on the Rift. I expect that I'm going to use my LOL states. I expect that I'm going to communicate my intent. I expect that I'm going to try my best to make the enemy sweat for LP. And if I tick those boxes, which are always in my control, how that manifests in the game is kind of beside the point. It doesn't really matter.
You could do all that. You could be 0-3. You could do all that. You could be 7-0. But as long as you're doing that, what you know and what we know intuitively is that typically ends with pretty good results.
Yeah, because that is...
But that's not the focus.
That's not the focus. Exactly right. And I think where a lot of people get hung up, they expect themselves to play like quote unquote well, like have a good score line or win X amount of games or whatever the hell it might be because they've done XYZ. They've attended a coaching session. They've watched some YouTube video. They've played with intensity. So I should expect to win. But no, you can't expect any raw, hard outcome.
Yeah.
Because it's out of your control. You don't know what game you're going to be putting yourself into.
How would you respond to this? Platinum Jeffrey, okay, goes, okay, like I understand I shouldn't have the expectations for my teammates to play like a challenger level, but can they at least play like a platinum gold level? Like, is that too much to ask?
And you know what I would say there is you're expecting yourself to understand what platinum level even means. You don't actually even know that. Who are you to
Also-
judge that person isn't playing like platinum level on that champion, given that his level of mastery?
Like, you don't know every role. You don't know every champ.
You don't know everyone's account and how many games they played on that champion and did they get off roll? Did they get secondary role? You have no idea. So it's just... so that's where I would say the expectations. You're expecting yourself to be able to like perfectly analyze everyone's gameplay and be able to like... You don't have that understanding.
Because even if you do, everyone has sort of different skill sets. Like maybe this guy just sucks in the lane, but in mid game is insane. So people are quick to judge their teammates, the expectation of their teammates in short bursts, short periods. They might see a fail flash or something like that. It's like, oh, can I at least play a game with somebody who knows how to use their flash button, you know? But if you actually look at that, he probably pops off in a team fight or carries a team fight, but you just ignore
Because
that.
people expect that they know, again, this subconsciously, that they're able to read the level of play of someone in just one game.
Or just a moment.
Or even
a few
just a
moments.
moment.
Yeah.
People also just have little biases against how people play, not necessarily even if it wins or loses them games. I mean, something that's happened in the league space the last couple of days is one of your mid lane coaches, 610, got into a little bit of an argument. I think more of a one-sided argument, Natty Nat on Twitter. And Natty Nat was very angry at how 610 was. 610's like what, like at least 1,000 LP, right?
Yeah, he's like top 20 or something.
Yeah, top 20.
On a US.
Wins a lot of games as Echo, but Natty Nat's going off at him. And Natty Nat's an incredible player, obviously understands the game very well, but very angry at 610 for how he's winning those games. He doesn't like his play style, and that tilts him because it maybe conflicts with his way of viewing the game, or maybe it like, I don't know, it attacks his view of the game or something. There's something there.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even winning or losing. It's like, fuck, why are you doing that? Like, why is this Kale just AFK? Or why is this like, why is my jungler not farming their camps?
No, I
You know,
think
this
we
weird
all,
shit.
we all have this. So again, I love this point again, Charles. You're popping today in this episode. I'll be honest, Charles. You're over.
I mean,
Charles is a master.
I'm
of
good.
tilts.
I played a lot of solo queue, guys. I'll be honest. I was saying before, I think I've played more solo queue than both of you combined. I've played a lot of solo queue.
Charles has had, like the experience of thousands of league plays all in one person.
I've lived 1,000 lifetimes.
He's lived 1,000 lives on the Rift.
Yeah, and that's what I say before you go, Kurt. It's like one thing I'm passionate about this episode is like there's just not enough conversations like this being had. Everyone's talking about fucking patch, pick this champion,
Build this
or
item.
like here's a bloody toolkit or a trick. It's like I feel like people
This is the
listening or
human
watching,
experience.
yeah, you need to understand you're not alone with your behaviors. Like we've all made great progress in League of Legends and helped others, and we I'll speak for myself. I still have negative thoughts about the game, and I think just bringing that to the surface should be done more.
100%.
Should be done more. So what were we going to say?
The amount of, again, this is where it gets really slippery slope because that conversation with Natty Nat and 610, everyone has this where it's like, I'm entering a fight. Let's say on a micro level. I'm a Yasuo player. I'm entering this fight. We have this like subconscious expectation a lot of the time that my team should know how I want to play this fight. This team should know that I'm looking to get my R off into this target. This team should know that I can't follow up on this. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So then the question then becomes, if you're getting constantly tilted at your teammates in key fights, a question you should ask yourself is it fair to me to expect that my team know exactly how I play fights or how I want to play fights? Is that a reasonable expectation?
Yeah.
Now, sometimes yes, sometimes it is painfully obvious, and that can be a reasonable expectation to have. But a lot of the time, it's not. And I actually wake people up in reviews sometimes. I'm like, how does your jungler know what you want to do here? You haven't said a single ping. This guy probably has never played Yasuo in his life. You're playing in gold, right? Like, let's wake up for a second.
Wake up, guys. I do want to shake people sometimes.
Well, this is something Nathan always says as well. Like, you want to make the game as easy for your teammates as possible. A lot of people are making the game bloody hard for their teammates. They're
Because
trying to
they
solve 40
expect
chess.
that knowledge that is
Yes.
obvious to them is obvious to other people, and that's delusional.
A very common why I came to that, why I always say that is because people expect crazy things for their teammates in fights.
Yeah.
They think that to win games, they require their teammates to play perfectly every single fight. That is a challenger player, guys. That is a rank 1 player. Okay, are you playing? With that, I don't think so. Because people just lose and it's so crazy for people to have that expectation when I could look at 5 of their fights in that game, they're ruining the game. So how could they possibly have that expectations for others? If you what's your expectations for yourself are so low?
Yeah. And I think the way this manifests in your play, especially, is you just take numbers advantage fights.
Yeah.
Which is so easy for your teammates to execute. So easy for everyone in the game to execute. It's like, well, burden of execution is very low. I've made this call. Whatever. But if you're just taking even numbered fights, maybe when some people don't have ultis, you're inadvertently making the game very tough for your teammates to play.
All right, so we've covered this whole topic of managing expectations. We'll come back to this again later on. The second major root cause of tilt is actually what you were mentioning before, Charlie, like ego and self-identity being challenged. Like the idea of who you are at fundamentally an identity level.
Yeah.
So like we all have ideas about who we are, right? And what we think we're capable of, right? These are deep-seated things such as I am the type of person who learns fast. I've had many people in the Midland Academy get frustrated because they're successful and a successful lawyer or whatever, and I've had top grades and I've dominated traditional sport. I'm a black belt in this or whatever, and now I'm playing League and
How
I'm
hard
struggling.
can a video game be? Seriously,
Exactly
little
right.
kids game, little graphics, little.
So like when you've got these deep-seated things challenging you, it can be very, very upsetting and tilting. Another example might be I'm the type of person who is just good at games. Right. And when that gets challenged and when that gets, you're up against the fence, that's where ego defense mechanisms, tilt really come into play. Another one, I'm the person in my friendship group that is the best at games. Wow, I thought I was really good at games, but now I'm just struggling and I'm stuck in gold. My friends are in diamond. I thought I could really be there with them. And, and this can really cause a lot of tilt, self-directed, self-sabotaging behavior. So what you were saying before, Charles, with that Clash game, I, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but you had this idea of like, I have this expectation of myself and this image that I want to uphold around others. Now that's getting challenged, I'm getting really upset and really tilted, really bothered about that, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us have that. And I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing. I'm not saying that you can't have an idea of who you are and, expectations of yourself. But again, I just do think this is a major core root source of tilt that we all need to have an honest conversation with ourselves about. And I will talk about some stories later on with myself, how this was a huge problem for me in my tilt, in my journey.
Yeah. I mean, I think that identity can either be a massive hindrance or a massive boon to your performance, right? I think that even using that Israel example again, on reflection, I should feel pretty proud of myself because I played really well that game. I was the reason why we dragged that game out. And I think reflecting on this season of League of Legends, one of the biggest things that I've kind of added to my identity is that I am the player who will drag the game out. I have no expectations about winning or losing or about my level of play even, but I'm going to make them fucking sweat for it. I'm going to drag this bitch out, the piss banger.
Piss banger. That's a bingo card.
That's a bingo card.
Yeah, that's a term I coined. I don't even know how, just this year randomly, but like I will make the game a piss banger. And that is something that really helps me perform in games. And I think there's no negative to that identity as well, but the whole like other people judging you part of identity, that's where it gets really negative.
It's really interesting, that toolkit. You've inverse to something that tilted you, games going long, people playing bad, to like, this is a piss bang's like fun. Like I can see you smiling when you're like, Nathan, I'm like, this game's turned into a piss bang.
Yeah.
You just done the complete
because it's actually
reverse.
really genius because it's actually 100% in Charlie's control. Regardless of what happens in that game, Charlie can do things
I can make it
to
go
drag the game out and honestly say to himself, you know what? I did make him sweat for it. I did draw out the game an extra few minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And that's something that like there are behaviors in my game that I can always replicate.
Yes.
And this actually throws me back to when Jono, our performance director back in the day in Direwolves, he would say, you want to reframe it in ways that you can control. Like whenever you're starting to play the victim of like, oh, what if this, what if that? He would say, well, start to look inwards and like what are things that we can do in the here and now right now that take us away from this fairyland and bring us back to reality. And we'll get into toolkits later on, but that's the crux of helping with managing these sorts of identity level problems. And then the last one is just external variables interrupting your experience. A lot of people get tilted over things such as like, lack of sleep, their IRL schedule, preventing them from actually getting a wide variety of games in, PC and internet issues, financial stresses, mental health problems. All of these can lead to you not really expressing your best self or being able to express your best self. That can lead to a lot of frustration and ultimately tilt. And there's a lot of people I've spoken to in the academies that say, look, if only I was able to play more games and I would be performing way better and I'd be climbing and I'd be having such a better experience, but I can't. And, and I'm not here to take away from any of that. It is a frustrating experience, but I would say this is a big core source of tilt for a lot of people.
I also think it's just a booster pack for tilt as well. Like if I'm on a loss streak, angry at my junglers, and then also I should actually be doing homework, that just exacerbates the tilt no end. Like shirking responsibility and like playing League tilted when you know you should be doing something else is like by far one of the worst things you can do with your time on Earth. Like it's fucked. It will send you down a very dark path. I mean, I've done this when I used to play at the Net Cafe for like 14 hours a day or whatever when I should have been studying. Like it's just inevitable. It creates inevitable tilt. There's actually that's one of the worst ones because I don't think there's really any way out of it other than stop playing the game and just go do what you need to do, then come back. Yeah,
it's really hard to accept that that's what you need to do. You're like, I could just queue up and get some quick dopamine from getting to plus 20 health B.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, it's funny.
that's my comfort zone. That's my safety.
You're trying to solve a problem, but you end up making the problem worse.
Well, it's funny because a lot of people, they know that they've got shit going on in real life that they need to attend, and they will actively play this game, know they're playing shit. That will tilt them. And then you confront them and say, well, why are you playing? You've got all this other shit to do. And then they will just kind of it's almost as if like they know the answer. Like they know what they're doing is fundamentally, causing tilt and self-sabotaging. But I think that's where, again, a little bit of awareness, self-awareness and emotional regulation will go a long way.
Okay, next up, we're going to be talking about the tilt spectrum. We're going to have a little graphic pop up here because not all tilt is created equal. We've already covered before. There is levels of tilt. It'll be how much easier would this episode be if it was just like, this is tilt, this is how you know you're tilted.
On and off,
and here's,
black and white.
Yeah, black and white. There's a switch, and then this is how you solve it.
Yeah, so like it's important to view tilt on a spectrum, okay? You're not where, there are levels to it, okay? And usually you're slowly building up on the spectrum. Now, sometimes certain triggers can cause extreme results whereby you can just smack bang at like 90% tilted, right? But more often than not, it's going to be a slower, gradual ramping up effect to kind of push you up this kind of, these levels of tilt. So at the first level of tilt here on this graphic, I would strongly recommend you check out this graphic if you're listening to this on Spotify or whatever.
YouTube.
The first one is oncoming tilt. So this is kind of characterized by like you're aware that you're just not in the right mental state. Like that you're frustrated. You're not a happy chappy anymore. You know that you're a little bit compromised. You're not you're not self-sabotaging per se or anything yet. You'll kind of just know that you're not in the right headspace. You're not expressing your best self. And typically, something that a lot of people would say in this sort of frame of mind is, oh, that was bullshit. Or they're more prone to venting. They're more prone to calling out unfortunate events. Or like, oh, here we go again.
Maybe
things
sarcasm as well. Like just little things. Oh, look at my jungler once again. Haha.
Well, that's a fun champion. Or things like that, right?
That was balanced.
That was balanced. Thanks,
Riot.
Riot.
That's reasonable.
Yeah.
I say that all the time. Yeah. that was reasonable. Just like a little throwaway.
So like, I think this is where for people that are less experienced with their own, again, emotional state, less self-aware. This is where what you were talking earlier, Charles, the micro forms of tilt, where this can go under the radar very easily. People will stay in this perpetual state of oncoming tilt for months.
Yeah, they don't know.
They don't know any better, right? If they haven't expressed their best self and they're not they don't have a healthy relationship with the game, they could live here and think that, why am I not getting results? Why am I not getting better? Why does my league experience feel so shit?
In the early days of the podcast, Curtis, you would always talk about like the recycle bin. And how many times have you guys or the listeners not realized how full your recycle bin on your computer is? And you're like, wait, you look at your hard drive and then it's like, it's only got like 50 gig left. And you're like, what's going on here? I swear that I have way more.
Okay,
and then you realize your recycle bin is just completely full.
Yeah, so for people who don't understand this metaphor analogy, basically, we spoke about this concept of your mental baggage that you're carrying on from games can fill up this metaphorical recycle bin, right? And so imagine a bin with every bad experience you have in a game. It's like gnawing at you, and it's adding trash to the bin, adding trash to the bin, adding trash to the bin. And over time, if you leave that bin unattended and you don't empty the trash and make peace with this stuff that's happened in mental reset, at some point it's going to become so stinky and atrocious and terrible that it's going to start causing massive degradation in your level of play, your ability to express your best self. And a lot of people, like you're saying before, Nathan, they don't understand that their recycle bin is just full. Yeah. And they're actually operating at a much lower level than they could.
15 gamer people is for the 15 gamer people. Their recycle bins, yeah.
I was going to do a random aside. Like, I have 3 monitors on my desk. My desktop is just full of shit. I'm not putting anything in the recycle bin. And then also what I'll do occasionally, I'll just click drag my mouse over all of it and press delete.
And then we have to
always
find
say,
the files are gone.
These files are too large to fit in the recycle bin. Do you want to permanently delete them? I'm just like, bonk. And then we just lose files.
That's great. Great story, Charles.
Thank you.
Thanks for that.
Because we're Windows gamers.
Yeah. Windows gamers. And so let's say you've got this oncoming tilt and it's maybe some triggers, some extra pieces of trash go into the bin and you die to that gank, you get that auto loss, whatever the hell it might be. We might slowly ramp our way up to the middle, right? Which is smack bang in the middle of the tilt spectrum is, say, we'll call it level 2. You're in the thick of it, right? This is when you are tilted, right? You need to get off the PC. And this is when you really start getting angry, right? Yep. Verbally. how is this even possible? Emotions are running wild.
Is this the breaking keyboard phase yet?
No, we're not at breaking keyboard levels yet, but we're definitely we're getting
Are
angry.
we typing in the chat?
We're typing. We're toxic.
Our decision making is just heavily altered in a negative way.
Yep, you're definitely not playing your best anymore. We're definitely engaging in self-sabotaging behavior at this stage. But you're still within the realm of like someone could talk to you and probably get you out of it, right? A close friend could say, "Hey man, look, you probably should get off the PC, right? You should probably just pack it up. Let's just play a different game. Let's move on." You can be reasoned with, but it's not easy. Okay. Now, when you're at this point right now, you've got a really big decision to make, right? Like, do I want to keep on pushing through and try to calm down, go get a water break, come back in 10 minutes? Or do I want to completely take the day off, 24 hours, 48 hours, and come back, right? So if you don't make that decision, though, and you let your emotions control you, it can get very ugly very quickly.
Yeah.
Now, if you persist and things start spiraling, now we're getting into the playing till 4 a.m. all night tilt queuing. You can get to a fugue state, right? Where you're gone, right? You're absolutely gone, right? You're Hank sitting on the toilet, realizing that you've been lied to, and you are not allowed to communicate with others anymore. No matter what anyone says to you, you are sending it, right? And this is where you're going to ruin your account. You will burn your account. You will delete your account, right? You won't care if you're going to
Go next account.
go next account. You will make decisions that seem so logical to you that you've created this sophisticated understanding of what you should do that you don't even care anymore.
This is like running it down.
Yeah, trolling.
running it
flat
down,
out the int in the
straight up
games.
trolling.
Yeah.
We're talking just like crazy. It's playing completely different roles, actively trying to lose. This is breaking keyboard level shit. This is staying. I'm going to ruin my account all night tonight. I don't care if I get banned.
Yeah. Usually just bleeds into the real life as well as
Well,
I
this is where it
imagine.
gets scary for a lot. And then, quick jokes aside, like we've had people write into our mailbag,
Yelling at girlfriends.
or like partners. Like it's impacting my relationship. If when I get to this level, my partner knows that I'm not good to be around anymore. I'm a burden to my environment, and this is where it gets very scary. And we need to, if there's anything that I want people to take away from this episode, is we don't want to get to this point. You never want to allow yourself to get to this extreme level of tilt. This is when you know something is wrong, and we need to prevent ourselves at all costs from getting to this end state. Okay.
This is also, I don't want to say it's obvious it's very obvious when you're at this state from maybe people outside, but stage 2, like this is when, it's like, we got to do something about this. By the time you get to that point, like it shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're you're a veteran tilter, you're aware that you've probably need to work on this. Like you usually get good at stopping at 2.
Yeah.
You won't go to 3.
Yeah, like people in our long-term people in our WTL academies and ourselves, we could never get to this point. It'd be impossible. We would at max get to like 2 and then that's it. Yeah. But even then a little bit before.
So out of interest, my personal question to you guys, have you guys found yourself getting to 3 before?
Yes.
You've got to 3.
I have broken headsets.
Wow. So do you remember how long it took you to recover from that?
Oh, it was when I was a child, like a kid.
Yeah.
I didn't even think it was League. It was like COD when I would like break my Turtle Beach headset, like in anger, just get angry, just getting shot in the game or something. Like in League of Legends, no, I don't think I've ever really gotten to the 3. Like, no, not that far up the spectrum.
What about you, Nathan?
The only time was when I lost 1500 LP in 2 weeks. I went from top 10 in season 4 to learn new champions all the way down to I went from 1200 LP to diamond 3. About 1500 LP in 2 weeks. Think about that, guys. That's quite extreme.
Yeah, I remember that.
There's actually a YouTube video. I think it's still on YouTube today. Maybe Charlie, you'll put it up it's called Rippy's Mad Mechanics.
Yeah.
That is a documentation with Lee Sin.
Yeah.
Banger video.
Wait,
You've
Civil
completely
was in
lost
that
it.
video as well.
No way, was he?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He was
What's
in
that,
that
12 years ago?
Yeah, something like that.
It's a great video.
And that was, I was gone in terms of...
Yeah, what was your psychology like?
Yeah. Because that's a weird one, Nathan, because it's not like an isolated incident. It's not like you were triggered by one thing happening. It was like a consistent headspace, like literally like a fugue state.
And you
for
weren't
weeks.
toxic to anyone.
No, well, I've never typed
Yeah.
in League of Legends in terms of.
So what was your
never been
headspace
toxic
like?
once. My headspace was like, because I was a time when I was like meant to be a pro player and stuff like that, and I needed to learn the real junglers because I played, a bit more off traditional junglers, but I became a pro player, like the Udios of the world and that sort of stuff. And then it was just identity level, complete self-sabotage, checkout. It's like, I am going to sort of prove to the world that these champions suck. Sort of like that Nidalee thing that you were saying, but doing it to myself. And that, I'm not the mechanical player, I'm the cerebral player. And then I would just completely int the fights, like subconsciously, even maybe consciously self-sabotage. And that's what you'll see in the video that Charlie will be playing on the screen.
That's so interesting because my version of Tilt when I was younger, when I would just get angry and like break stuff, is just so base. It's just so like animalistic. It's not like I wouldn't be conscious of it. I wouldn't be able to like articulate how I felt. It was purely just like response to negative thing occurs. I just don't control myself. Zero emotional regulation. And then just let it go.
Yeah, because mine was like yours. I would say like, Nathan, you've heard my like rage on lag back in the day.
Oh yeah, lag.
Lag was my trigger.
External variable.
External variable. That was my trigger. But it was actually tied to the identity stuff, because what would happen is that I would lag. I would play poorly because I'm lagging. And it wasn't consistent lag. It was like spikes. And then my mind was like, these people think I'm a shit.
Yeah, because you're technically playing well for a lot of that game. And the one moment you play poorly, it's like, okay, now they think that now I look shit. And that pisses me off.
But that was like my way of dealing with that was like rage, like screaming.
Because if anything, it would be actually easier if you just like lagged and couldn't play the game.
Exactly right.
But it's just because it was that's really
It was
tilting,
like really like weird
little
spikes.
moments or important moments in the game.
Yeah.
Like,
and it would like spike for like 30 seconds and then come back. It was like random.
Yeah.
So that was, I lost my marbles there. So yeah, we all have our experience. I just wanted to bring that up because again, I want to bring the viewers, like we are human after all. We've also gone through half of this shit.
What I want to say on my levels of tilt as well is I think like the wider gaming community, not the League community, kind of view League of Legends players and the game League of Legends as quite toxic, right? That's generally like a general consensus about League. It's like it's a toxic game. You shouldn't touch it. I think they think that most League players are constantly around level 2. The average League of Legends player, according to the like people in play other games, League players are just toxic, man. They just type all the time. Like they're just really angry people.
And that's why we're using the Tyler 1 as the image, right? Like we're about to punch his monitor. That's people. Tyler 1 is actually the face
of League of Legends.
Legends. So yeah.
Yep. All right, so we're going to now move on to solutions. We've spoken a lot about tilt and why it's so problematic. Now we're going to be getting into how do we prevent tilt from happening, and this is going to be more under the guise of like preventative medicine. Like how do we kind of prevent ourselves from even getting to level 2 or level 3, right? Even remotely close. So
the first one we need to talk about is the 3-block process. The 3-block process was a big part of that. Was the invention? It was about playing high intensity, but also instantly cutting off anytime you want
what's an anti-tilt queue mechanism, right?
Because you have to play 3 games and you have to break. You have to do that reset. You have to enter the reset.
It's a great tip because the no matter where you're at in emotional regulation or your relationship with the game, it's a great tool, right? Because it's like if I'm stopping at that 3rd game, no matter what, rain, hail, or shine, there's a limited amount of damage that you can deal. So it's kind of like a forced way of developing that muscle memory of like stopping and like not being that. Like, I guess, indulging that animalistic aspect of your emotions. So, like, I would say that's less of it is kind of preventative in a way, but it's not preventative in the sense that you're still getting angry. You know what I mean? So if someone has a problem with tilting, it's not gonna prevent them from tilting, but it's gonna prevent damage.
Yeah, exactly right. You're removing yourself from the situation where you can let that tilt impact your game because you're not going to play it.
Exactly right.
Yes.
Yeah, the 3-block process is helped thousands of our listeners on this podcast. People have written in.
What's cotton on? A lot of people
academies. Yeah, people even don't know about this
people
podcast.
don't even know about it. It's
block.
like spread like wildfire in the
Should
community.
have called it the broken by concept process.
Yeah.
And I would say for my journey as well, the only reason that I got to Challenger in my older days when I was, wasn't a young whippersnapper anymore when I was like 27, plus is because I contributed to the 3-block process.
Yep.
Because I would clearly remember those days that I went 0-3. The urge to play more was unbelievable. But I knew the 3 games and then, okay, reset next day. And then the next day I'll have that 3-0 block. And then, then I'll start rocketing it up. So that was, that's completely saved.
Definitely a great tip.
Saved 100%. My life.
Yep. So now we're going to get into we spoke a lot about managing expectations. So having reasonable expectations, revolving around understanding that League is a very, very difficult game. We talk a lot about on this podcast, respecting the difficulty of the game. And I do think that's at the absolute bedrock of, preventing tilt. And I do want to kind of talk about again, ideally keeping your expectations to a minimum. I really like to recommend people adopting more of a student-like, even childlike mindset. Right, where again, it would be awesome to come in and have all these sophisticated expectations, but if you're going to be honest with yourself, it takes a long time to be able to have nuanced opinions or nuanced expectations about the game. It's much more practical for the average person to just be like, you know what, I'm going to have a hypothesis on certain things. I'm not going to expect anything to plan out the way I think it is, but I'm going to hypothesize that, okay, I think this is going to plan out this way, but if it doesn't, I'm probably wrong. And I want to say, this is the way I would frame it. It's you're open to the idea that if something did go wrong, then maybe you're missing something. And that's actually how I reckon that's the healthiest way of preventing tilt. If you come in and think, okay, I hope my jungler ganks mid this matchup, or I hope my jungler does this in this game. You can hope it happens. You can want it to happen. You can have a hypothesis that it would be the correct play. But if your jungler doesn't do it, your mindset should be, there probably is a better reason. There's probably a better reason here that I don't understand that why this jungler hasn't done it. And I still use that to this day. If my jungler's doing something else, even though I want him to do another thing, I automatically assume he's the jungler, he's the champion, he plays that champ. I don't know enough about that situation. I'm not playing their game. I'm surely missing something.
Yeah.
And that is my baseline assumption. Now, whether or not that's right or wrong, it's actually negligible, because if you have that mindset, you're kind of untiltable, because you're never expecting anything to happen. You're not holding on to that opinion. You see what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I think the way I kind of tackle that as well is just really viewing pivoting as a skill. I like when I'm in the mid game specifically, and I'm preparing myself for a sequence, and then maybe a player does something whack. My support goes to the opposite side of the map to my jungler. It's oh shit, okay, I've got to pivot now. And it's an opportunity to kind of almost
adapt.
Test yourself and adapt and make sense of a complex situation.
I view those moments, like a skill. I know I could have lost the game by doing this play. Me actively not doing that, I'm thinking I'm actually winning the game. I just did a critical crossroads point. I chose the right path, and that was a skill.
It's I want my team to hover me on this mid wave. I've pinged it. They're not hovering me. All right, I'll just wait. I won't go for that wave. And that feeling, if you can win games and kind of almost like Pavlov's dog, that feeling into yourself, it does feel
that unlocks
good.
you to a next level league player. Yeah.
But almost accepting that is the game.
Yes, that's what I was going to.
That is the game.
That is the game of League of Legends.
Yeah.
The game of League of Legends is that everyone has their own unique interpretation of how to win the game. It's not even about what is objectively correct.
Yeah.
Because this is what people have. People have this. We coach a lot of software engineers, and they view everything through this lens of yes or no, black and white. This is either the correct decision or wrong decision. And a really what's the word? Not enlightening, but a really empowering worldview in League of Legends is it's not about right or wrong. It's about, does your decision make sense?
Yeah.
Is it based in reality, right? It doesn't matter. Like you said there, okay, as an AD carry, you're okay, I want my jungler to sit around me. We play with our jungler. We can stack dragons, free win. But your jungler goes off and tries to kill the on top or whatever. So now, yes, you could get into the weeds of that's an objectively wrong thing, but that's negligible.
Yeah,
objective isn't happening right now. That objective reality that you're envisioning is not on your screen. So now you're in the territory of, okay, well, what am I dealing with? How do I best respond to this situation at hand?
Yep.
Right. And so again, the expectations are not. You can't have the expectation that every game is going to be played out in this hyperlogical LCK macro style game. We're not playing that. We're playing solo queue League of Legends. everyone has their own weird little narratives, belief systems, hierarchies, ideas about win condition, levels of intensity, interpretations of what the best play is, focus levels. We could sit there and I can analyze it, but it doesn't matter because we're all just individuals playing the game at our weird level of play, and that's that. Right. And so in a way, when you have that worldview of like leagues, it's like multifaceted, complex, self-expressive beast, then nothing surprises you. Nothing is like, wow. Like everything is like, okay, well, fair enough. Now what do I got to do?
Yeah.
And that mindset basically makes you untiltable to a certain extent. This is why I think Nathan is like always been such a great like a second coming of Jesus, as he said at the beginning of this episode, because Nathan is just thinking about what's next. My mid laner has done this. I played bot the whole game. They're my win condition. My Vayne has just died and blah blah blah. Now what do I have to do? Now what do I have to work with here?
Yeah, I have a permanent state of logic and high percentage. Everything's just a little percentage calculation in my mind and quick adaption. Yeah. I used to have the software engineer, the programmer, if statements mindset.
If then.
And then that's what leveled me up next. It's like I do have the if statements, but I also have the, let's rewrite this code in half a second type thing.
Nathan takes it to the next level where he's like, I'm going to go top here on the sequence. My bot lane is going to die. They're going to get mad at me. And then I'm going to keep and then what's next after that?
I'm predicting.
He's predicting
the tilt happening in the game.
Yeah.
That's the next level. Yeah. You're like literally the puppet master.
Yeah. I'm like, I know how this person is going to feel that they don't even know in the next 15 seconds based on my decision making.
Yeah, 100%.
Like think about the power you fucking when you have that in the game. It's like I'm architect of people's like emotions.
He decides how your evening is going to go.
Yeah.
But I think what the most empowering part of this, right, where I really want to push it, like practical tips is like everyone has, like, I think what Nathan, what you're saying here is that that no one has the complete view of the game, and everyone has a very unique set of strengths and weaknesses. And when you really appreciate that fact that everyone has got to this rank in some way, shape, or form. I may not understand it, but everyone in this game deserves to be here in some way, shape, or form.
Yep.
Right? Whether or not that's showed in this game, everyone here has competence in some areas. So how that manifests in the game, I don't know.
And it's really interesting. Why I was able to learn that skill is because I am a jungler and I'm like F-keen panning to everyone. I'm an observer in the game. So I learned that skill because I have the luxury to hit my camps. A mid laner is not going to be able to develop that skill to maybe the level that I can. Or intuitive, because they're only focused on, they have some F-keen, but I'm just chilling F-keen, hitting my camps, playing easy.
But you've come to that conclusion from literally objective reality of like watching everyone. But for people listening, you just have to have faith and understand that idea, right? Like it is a very logical idea that everyone gets to their rank. I've covered this in many of my own personal YouTube videos about like everyone has a very unique bar graph of skills that culminates in their particular rank. Now, Charlie could be the mid-game aficionado, have the best mid-game, but a terrible lane phase. Another guy at the same rank could have the best lane phase and the worst mid-game. They're both at the same rank, but how they got there is very different. So you're working with 9 other players with super, super unique bar graphs, with all unique combinations of skills, different skill sets, different weaknesses, and how that all is going to play out, you don't know.
Yeah, so the way I would turn this into a practical tip, which I've spoken about before, is like viewing your teammates as tools, especially the ones that have skewed bar graphs. They're actually fucking good weapons. They're really good weapons. Like the Pike player, who is maybe a bit of a psycho, but hits every hook. Okay, interesting. I'm going to utilize that. The Tryndamere, who maybe doesn't know how to sync pressure with the team, but he's like winning his 1v1. Okay, how can I use that? My jungler who's invading a lot. Okay, how do I use that?
Or my jungler that's just AFK farming. I'm actually going to use that by just never heavy trading and then just letting them scale.
Well, that's how I got good at playing with Sona. The Sona player who's going to minimize lane and not die, but not give me options to trade and not be aggressive. Okay, how am I going to use that to win the game? Once you start changing your mindset from how do I get my teammates to do what I want to how do I adapt and mold myself to play with these players, all of a sudden you're playing a new game.
Yeah.
Because I feel like so many people, that's kind of the way I've articulated that makes a lot of sense. Like they're trying to get their teammates to do what they want. But you should adapt to what they're currently doing.
Yes.
That's what it is. And I feel like this actually is how I coach at the same time as well. I'm very much in like trying to solve what's on the fucking screen instead of get hypothetical, because it doesn't matter what happens in universe B, C, D, whatever. You have to make the best of what's on your monitor at this time, and that's all you can do.
That's the skill of the skill of a solo queue player.
Yeah, exactly right.
But that requires you to have that adaptable mindset of being like, you know what, I've got to mold myself to this game. It requires you to drop your ego.
Yeah,
but this game's not about me.
That's a big one, yeah.
Right? This game is not about me 1v9ing and carrying this game, right? The only expectation I have is that I'm going to play with intensity, adapt to what's on my screen, and play to express my best self. However that manifests in the game, whether I'm the carry, I'm the secondary carry, I'm cannon fodder, whatever the fuck it is, it doesn't matter. You're just trying to mold yourself to the game. And that's the beauty of League of Legends. I think that's what makes League of Legends such a beautiful game, because there is no clear-cut path to victory. I can't just copy-paste what I'm going to do in this one game and roll it out to every single game. That's just not the way League of Legends is. That will only get you so far. And I think that's a really tough pill for a lot of people to swallow, but again, we're talking about the managing of expectations. That is League of Legends. Welcome to League of Legends. What we always say, welcome to League of Legends, right?
Another way to manage expectations and to put it in practical terms is like, don't go into the game expecting it to be like a fun time, like a birthday party or something. Some games are boring. Like the way you might have to win a game could be really boring. It could be saying no many, 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 many times and like enduring pain to then win the game. But I feel like a lot of people, they get tilted because the game isn't meeting their expectations.
Because I want to win the game this way.
Yeah.
I want to be the one with kills. I want the one with my junglers playing towards me.
Yeah, like I didn't queue up off the surf to fucking weak side, mate. You know what I'm saying?
Like Darius into Teemo.
Chad playing Darius as a team.
It's
I
a
love that.
Heimerdinger, my jungler's pathing bot. Yeah, it's like, come on.
Yeah.
But like that's the game you're in.
That's
What are you
the game.
going to do about it? Come on, wake up. How are you going to play? Your jungler's pathing bot.
Chad, if you're watching this chat off the show, how are you going to respond to this?
Come on, Chad, step it up.
All right, so we've covered a lot about that. So another one is like knowing your personal triggers, right? So I'm going to say personally for me, like this is just no bullshit. I've gone through moments in my games, things that bother me, right? And I'm like, okay, this is the moment in the game that really bothered me. I lost control of my perception of how I should have won this game. I was frustrated. There's something going on here. I view it as like a knot. There's a knot here somewhere that I need to figure out where does the knot exist? You can't go to how do I deal with this trigger or this emotion until you've actually identified where is it coming from? What's the root cause here? And so this is why we talk a lot about, so first it is follow the emotion, right? Where is that frustration coming from? Where is it starting? Then you ask yourself, okay, you might identify in the game practically, okay, this is where I lost plot in the game. When my bot lane died here, my jungle did this, I died here, I made this mistake. And then you go, do the 5 whys. Why did this bother me so much? What about this bothered me? Okay, then say why again. Okay, it bothered me because when I make this mistake, I think that I'm not getting any better. Why does that bother me? Because I'm putting all this time into the game and I feel like I'm not getting any results. Why does that bother me? Because I feel like I need to get this rank by this time. But why does that bother me?
Because I feel like I'm the best player in my friend group. Or
Exactly
I need
right.
to live to the expectations of my friends.
Exactly
Some
right.
Deep psychological
there can be some deep
stuff.
psychological
Yeah.
shit. I feel like I need to be this rank by this amount of time because if I don't, then my friends are going to think I'm shit.
Or
And
I'm sitting at the PC in the evening instead of watching TV with my partner.
yeah, I feel guilty for playing League. So if you peel the layers, there's always, and you're honest with yourself, there is going to be a reason there that is causing you that sense of frustration or tilt. But it requires a deep sense of honesty, time, and introspection. And this is where League, this ties into the whole conversation, League can be a vehicle for self-development and growth. And it sounds so corny and so cliche and so like, just bullshit. But it's true. I think we are all the living example of people that were maybe not the most high performing, and we use League as a vessel to become better versions of ourselves.
Learn how to deal with our emotions.
We learn how to deal with our emotions.
Mailbag's full of people that have done this in honestly much more impressive ways than I have. Like some people have overcome some serious like pitfalls in their lives using League of Legends to teach them stuff. So yeah.
And this is where it starts. It starts this way.
Yeah.
And so like I do now want to go into, we spoke about these triggers earlier on, right? Some of these triggers. And so what I want to do is go through some let's say some ways to deal with some of these triggers. Now that we've covered a few, like, managing expectations and all this stuff, and just kind of spitball, right? The first one being, you've had a series of hard games in a row. You've lost a few games in a row. You're feeling a little bit tilted. How does someone work their way through that? How does someone prevent themselves from going a 1 to a 2 to a 3?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the first thing that comes to my mind immediately, I don't know about you, Nathan, is just like getting off the PC, leaving the computer chair.
Yeah, I hope that person's doing the 3-block process.
Yeah, so whether it be like you're done with your day, or whether it be you just need to get off the computer for 5-10 minutes and go get a drink of water, step outside if you can and come back. Like, just a reframing and giving yourself time to rationalize, I think, is important, because the human brain is very powerful at like rationalizing if you give it the space to do so. But if you kind of just sit there in your chair, I can just literally feel like the physiology of sweating in the computer chair and hitting Q up again, headset
glued to your head.
Like, that's just, you're not going to fix yourself there. But I feel like getting out of the chair is like a superpower, and it's also half the work. If you can get out the chair when you're tilted, the likelihood that you're going to return to the chair tilted, it just halves. I feel like even more than that. So it's lame advice, but it does work.
No, totally. I love that. And I would even say the next level to that is give yourself permission to actually just not have any learning. Like, a lot of the time I'll say, I'm not ready emotionally to make sense of this block. I would literally do that. I just get off the PC, I'm done. And I say, I'm not ready to look at these games. Even if I were to pull up the VOD, I'm not in the emotional state to actually dissect why I'm so angry, what's going on. I'm not in that state. So an awareness of that you are compromised. I know that I'm emotionally compromised. I'm not going to actually be able to identify what the fuck happened in that game. So I'm going to get off the PC and I'm going to take a look at it tomorrow.
Yep.
And for people that try this exercise, if you're frustrated after a shitty 3-block, you lost 3 games in a row, rather than reviewing those games and try to make sense of them, next day before you queue up for your block, just go for a quick skim. Just look over a bunch of stuff from that block. Look over a few of your deaths. You'll start to see that game in a new light. It can actually sometimes feel like a completely different experience because you're separating your ego and how you thought the game played out with the objective reality.
Yeah, this happens so much in coaching sessions where like there'll be like a gromp fight at like 6 minutes or something, and the member will say something like, I just wish my jungler would just have done like just use their ability. Why didn't they just go in here? And then you look at the VOD in post game, it's like, mate, you're sitting on like 1,000 gold. You should have just gone back to base on the previous wave or something. Just like completely reframe the problem. It happens all the time.
And then so higher level here, I'd also say if you're coming into a block expecting that you're going to go 3-0 or you're going to have a particular outcome in your block, that is already a problem. That you're already setting yourself up to fail in the first place. You know what I mean? Like you shouldn't have any expectation for the most part about how those games are going to play out because you just don't know, right? I don't think any one of us come into a block and be like, yeah, I'm going to get a 3-0 block. We just play and see what happens and deal with the problems. We would love for it to be a 3-0 block and have 3, great games. But we don't expect that to be the case. And actually, sometimes this is where another nice little toolkit comes into play. I come into the game expecting that it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
I expect that I'm going to have 2 losing sides and a jungler that doesn't know how to gank. Right? If that's your baseline expectation, anything else above that
Just happy.
is just we're killing it.
Yeah. I mean, I took a break for like a week before, I think yesterday, come to my blog, kind of just expect I'm just going to get the block done, I'm just going to hell in a cell it, 3 games, kind of played averagely. Now that's out the way. Now maybe we can move on. I think not expecting too much of yourself, let alone your teammates. Expectations of self, I think, is equally triggering a lot of the time for people.
Next one here is, AFKs and trolls, right? So the reality is that, you are going to have some unfortunate games every now and then. Welcome to the land of 30, 30, 40. 30% of your games are going to be auto losses. They're going to happen. They're going to exist. So the reality is that, if your expectation moving into the game is that, I'm probably going to get some people that are not performing at their best level of play or whatever, that's going to make it a lot easier for you to handle that when it does inevitably happen.
What I do to deal with this is constantly saying what's next, only focusing on what's on my screen, what I can control in the moment, zooming out as well of thinking, okay, well, this is, another bingo card that we have on this podcast is that every game is the most important, but least important. I have a very famous clip. I think we've done a podcast episode, the end of it, the Camille that followed me around my jungle
Yeah, it was a podcast episode.
But it's
Friend,
also
friend of the show, Camille.
yeah, the show Camille, and I definitely have the resource in the Jungle Academy, and this is the topic of tilt. And I was literally in a challenger game, followed and taken camps by the Camille for a good period, like 3-4 minutes, and I'm just sitting there, just doing ignoring her that she's even on my screen. Okay, just clearing my camps,
Weird mental monk level shit. Like
yeah, no, that's why I sound the second coming. Inhuman levels of behavior. Just going on my day, just taking on my camps, going to my next camp, bam, identify win condition, playing, and then we win that game.
But yeah, I don't even know what to make of that.
Yeah, maybe we have that little clip playing, Charles, there.
Mental.
So yeah, literally just
What's next?
What's next to the extreme, and what's the best decision given what's on my screen?
Yeah, and I think that's a really great point, Nathan, because people ask, what's the most practical advice you could possibly give to someone is distract yourself with high quality questions, straight up, right? Whenever your mind starts to wander and go to, how much LP am I going to lose? Oh my God, look at my animal bot lane or whatever the hell it might be. Okay, what's the next dragon? What am I going to do with it? When am I strong? When am I weak? When's my ult coming back up? Who else is doing well in this game? What's my win condition in this game? Like the more you distract yourself with the details, the easier it's going to be to kind of just make your way through the game. Another one here is making the same mistakes. Okay, now this is, again, a very big one. I'm dying to that gank again. I'm missing that skill shot. I'm wasting my ultimate, whatever. This is where I think having a little empathy for the difficulty of the game and that you can understand something logically doesn't mean you have the muscle memory to do so. So, again, I think people have this belief system where if I put in like every single game of League of Legends that they play, they view it as like a tally system. Okay, Strike, I've got 1 game of Echo in my back pocket. Strike, 2 games of Echo in my back pocket. But not every game is equal. Some of those games, you're not going to experience certain things. Some of those games, you're going to be playing with low intensity. Some of those games were just like auto losses, auto wins, whatever. So the way you want to view it, you might have 20 games, but in reality, they're not 20 games of hardcore, beautiful Echo games. Or you might have played, people literally think, I played 30 games of Echo 2 years ago, and now I'm playing Echo games. So I'm not new. I already know how to play the champ.
Yeah.
You don't know how to play the champ. You played Echo 2 years ago for 30 games. You don't know.
You might know logically, but you can't execute it.
You might know logically what the kid does.
Know what his abilities do. Yeah.
You might know what the abilities do, but you have no feel. So I think this is where, for me, if you're listening to this and you feel like you're making the same mistakes all the time, you need to have a little bit of understanding about, okay, League is... Everything is a muscle, and it takes time to develop that muscle memory. And you can understand something logically, doesn't mean you actually have the muscle memory to develop it. And be kind to yourself. League's a very, very difficult game. The game is changing and evolving. There's so much happening. It's not like you're in this beautiful like training simulator where you're able to like perfectly isolate this skill and drill the same thing over again. You're in the most chaotic, shitty learning environment possible, right? You might want to work on your let's say you're side laning as Victor or something. And okay, you might only get to properly work on that for like 1.5 minutes over an entire 3 block. That could be the reality. An hour and a half of games or whatever, and you're working it for 1.5 minutes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
I mean,
a lot of these I'm finding it's thinking about the game in terms of like long term, because that just, ties back to the expectation side of things. Everyone wants to like have this school like, it's like I enter a class, I learn this thing, I move on to the next, like, A7 or B, you know what I mean? Like that's, they want it.
There's no
modules. Yeah.
Well, this is where consistency comes into play. A buzzword people love to throw around, like, I'm just playing so inconsistently. But the truth is that every single game presents you with unique problems that you'll never see again exactly present themselves the way they did. And you just knew how to solve the problems in one game and don't know how to solve the exact problems in the second game. So you might feel as though you're not making progress, but you're just solving unique problems. That's part of the problem as well. I feel like understanding, like you were saying, how you actually learn League of Legends, if you really try and rationalize that and just be kind to yourself about that process, it can, stop you from tilting, for sure.
So I want to kind of skip forward a little bit because now I want to kind of talk a little bit about more like generic, advice that anyone can apply to any trigger or any tilt thing, which is like, if you are tilted, let's say maybe during a game or even after a game, like what can you practically do, right? So we've spoken a lot about step number one is just building that awareness of how you're feeling, right? Awareness of your emotions is always step number one. I know Healthy Gamer has a lot of great content on just building that awareness of just like, I don't feel okay. I know that I'm feeling I can feel it coming on, or even you're in the middle of it. That is not normal. I know that is not optimal. And like you may not know what to do with that. You may not know how to deal with that. You may not even not know how to get out of that. But if you're now getting that momentum, or you're building the habit of like, I'm not just like autopilot raging. I'm aware that I'm upset. I'm aware that I'm emotionally compromised. That's going to be the start of your journey, right? And I do want to preface this whole section by also saying getting better at dealing with tilt is a long-term journey. You don't just take a pill, listen to one episode on the Broken by Concept podcast or a Healthy Gamer thing and be like, I've solved it. I've got it. I'm never going to tilt again. I'm healed, right? I've got like an injection or a vaccine. I'm never going to get tilted. That's not the way it works. It's a muscle. I view it as a skill, right? And we all have our own shit to work through.
Yeah.
It's a journey.
I think like what you're talking about in terms of recovering during a game, you actually have to have the belief that you can change your emotion during the game. I feel like a lot of people think that once you're tilted, that's it. You can't actually become untilted. Like if you're tilted in a game, I'm just going to play the game tilted now. I'm tilted. But you can bounce back during a game. And like even just the belief that you can do that, and even if you do it one time to prove to yourself that you can bounce back, it's very powerful. Like I feel like when if I'm in an early game or something and it kind of starts going to shit, I'll sometimes like be lost in the negative thoughts for like even just like a minute or 30 seconds. And then I'll be like, okay, fuck. Okay, I need to lock back in now. I can start playing differently. I can still win this game. I can still like perform. And I just, even just that belief that you can change during the game.
Yeah, no, totally. I love that. And I think a big part of that is accepting the reality of the situation. Like I'm not a fan of this thing where it's like, we're not like just saying I'm all happy chappy now. You know what I mean? It's like I'm upset. The game's shit. I'm like 0-2. I'm behind. I'm really useless. It's like it's not like I'm deluding myself, pretending that doesn't exist. It's now owning that. You know what I mean? It's like I'm now 0-2. I'm now on weak side. This game's not about me. This is a really hard game, and I now have to try and make them sweat for LP. Now what can I do? You know what I mean? So like I think a lot of people listening to our content, I've actually had people give criticisms about what I say. They say, well, Curtis, well that's, you know, it feels like all fairyland. It feels like not realistic. But I think that, you know, it's not that we don't, it's not like we're pretending we're in a good game state. No, we are actively recognizing that the game state's fucked. And now it's like, now what do I got to do? And so and it's not like we even think we're going to win. Sometimes I'm still keenly aware that I'm probably still going to lose this game. But here are the steps that I can take. Like, what can I do to make him earn this win?
Drag the game out.
Make it a piss banger, the Charlie special. And this is where high quality questions. What's the next neutral? When's my ultimate coming back up? Who's strong and weak? What's my role in this composition? Whatever, right? And that's where those high quality questions come into play, and deep breaths.
So talking more about the step number one, Curtis, about just being aware of your emotional state in certain games, that, and aware of your triggers. Just that exercise that we did in this podcast episode was literally just talking about the triggers, and even sometimes just saying how ridiculous some of them and how irrational some of them are. Just physically talking about that is actually a bit of a preventative measure.
It totally is.
It's like not weaponizing it anymore. It's like
it disarms it.
It disarms it.
It disarms it because you see it for what it is and how ridiculous it is a lot of the time.
That's what you did with the piss banger. You've disarmed your tilts when games just become absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I did do that. And I think like it's also even more powerful when you can do it on a weakness, like doubling down on a weakness, making it a strength.
And you know, it's such a shame though, because in the League community, half of the stuff that we're talking about right now is never mentioned, right? Or if anything, it's kind of glorified.
Yeah, some people identify themselves as the toxic. You have like the toxic Draven players or the Twitch players or whatever it is. That is their identity in League, and it's actually cool, and it gets you views on YouTube
exactly
as well.
right.
Even just passively, like there's so many. Like I would actually find it difficult to find a video of someone playing a game of League on YouTube and them not say something about their team. I would just go through the experiment.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
Like most people do, even just offhanded stuff. And I feel like sometimes the more subtle it is, the more like like powerful it is, I guess, in terms of the effect it can have, because it's like just slides under the surface. It becomes part of the culture.
It becomes normalized.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of like, if it's a big event and someone's screaming, like it's fucking niece in our case studies, calling his teammates animals and like making it really loud and overt. Yeah, it's like, oh shit, that's not normal. But when it's someone saying something really subtle under the table, like, my team should be reported for this, it's like kind of a haha moment, you know? And that's more negative, a lot of it, I think, anyway.
Yeah, well, it's harder to identify. And then when it's called out, like, what are you talking about? I'm not typing. I'm not saying, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just a joke, just gamer rage, you know? Just
yeah.
a joke,
So, I just think it's important to note that you are leaps and bounds ahead of the league community if you're even remotely having this conversation with yourself. And yeah, look, I do think that I've got here a note for myself. Like, every time you catch yourself and every time you say, you know what, I could have easily lost this game or easily tilt queued, and you catch yourself and you're like, you know what, I'm not going to do that today. Or I know I'm emotionally compromised right now. I'm going to stop. I'm going to get off the PC. Every single time you do that, it gets easier. Right? So it's very hard to do at the start. It's extremely difficult, but you'll be surprised how much easier it will become, to the point where things just won't bother you not as much.
Yes,
like,
I
even
agree.
when you do get bothered by things, the severity of it is just dampened. It's like everything is just dampened. Like, people like watch my solo queue, and when I did live comms, and they would say, you know, how is this not, you just made this massive turn of events just happen. You just gave a bounty, whatever. And it's like, all right, well, it's not that I'm not angry or upset about that. There's an element of that, and I'm frustrated, but the severity of that is so much lower that I don't even have to give it a lot of thought. It's like, yeah, it's annoying, but you know, it's easier to overcome. You know what I mean? So I think that a lot of people listening to this view it again very much as like a skill that takes time, that will get, it's like a knife or a sword that will get sharpened over time. This keen awareness of it.
I think something that allows you to do that, Curtis, is I feel like you're different than Nathan in this quality, I think. I think you're very good at laughing at yourself. Like, just understanding, I made this mistake, like, just brushing it off in like a really positive way, like, oh, that happened, you know. Like, look what I just did.
I was going to actually mention this. I'm glad you brought this up, Charlie, because my biggest source of tilt, a lot, like I said, even with the lag, was deep-seated insecurity stemming from my performance on the Rift was directly correlated with my self-worth.
Yep.
Right? So if I wasn't performing on the Rift, or I didn't meet this expectation of being this exceptional gamer, then I wasn't worthy of love or respect. So anything that impacted that would cause a lot of strife internally.
Big wound.
Big wound that it was like a giant scar. And I could cover that a lot because I was very good and many games and whatever. I had that. But whenever eventually that started to get attacked, it caused massive stage 4 issues. And so you are right in saying that, like, nowadays my self-worth as an individual is not attached to it's like completely detached. No matter how I perform on the Rift, how poorly I look or whatever, I don't give a fuck. I know that I'm worthy of love and respect, and I've got my friends and I got my family and whatever. I've got all that.
Yeah.
I don't need anyone else's admiration. I don't need anyone else's respect. I don't need anyone to be like, wow, Curtis, you played that. You're so cool. Wow. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah, you're not just Curtis the gamer.
I'm not exactly right. I'm not just Curtis the
The
gamer.
good gamer. The exceptional gamer.
I'm just Curtis, whatever that is. And whether I'm in Grandmaster or Challenger or this, I'm playing this or this, it doesn't really bother me. Not at an identity level. It'll bother me sometimes emotionally because I want to win. I'm competitive, but it's not going to bother me at an identity level. So it's a lot easier for me to brush off. And so, like, if you are finding these things really difficult to brush off and you are getting very hurt, again, and it's going on that tilt spectrum, levels, you're going straight to 2 and straight to 3, it's probably a sign that you do have identity level things or deep-seated problems that need to be really addressed and brought to the surface by doing that 5 whys. And it can be very, like, subtle, and you're going to think that you're strong and, you know, you're okay, but it's not sustainable. And whether League is the thing that exposes that or another thing, it's going to bite you in the ass eventually, right? It had just so happened that League was the thing that exposed it for me, but it could have easily been anything else, right? Because I was seeking validation externally. I was seeking that, that whole, like, ego trip externally. It wasn't coming from within. And so, like, now, another tip for people who are struggling with that, if you can't compliment someone else, right, for doing something well in a game, you are probably falling guilty. You're probably falling into this trap. If you can't look at someone in a game who's maybe done something well, they've killed you, they played that fight really well, and you can't say, oh, well played. That's a sign that you've got there's something going on there with some insecurity. Why can't you tell that guy that they just played that well?
Yeah.
Like people literally say, like let's say Flamey or whatever. And it's like, yeah, they played pretty well. It doesn't bother me because now I don't give a fuck what they say or what they think about me. But I'm happy to give out my compliments lavishly. So step number one, a way of bootstrapping this for a lot of people is give out compliments lavishly.
I like that. Yeah, that's
right?
great.
Your lane opponent solo killed you and played that fight really well. Oh, fuck yeah, man. That Zed played that really well. Or that you're even someone on your team, your jungler who was behind, but they made a really good play. Fuck, that was a really nice play. Give out compliments lavishly because how you praise other people, you're going to make it easier to see the things you're doing well, genuinely. And then also the benefit of this is that you're going to be kinder to yourself when it's going to allow you to sort of be kinder to yourself in many different ways.
I think mandatory to being able to compliment your teammates and enemies is having a respect for like the rank you're in and the difficulty that it took to get there. I mean, we just did an episode covering all the ranks in the game, and what was the rank where we said good League of Legends player? Silver?
Like silver.
Yeah. So some people might be listening and thinking like, but how can I compliment my silver teammates? It's because they're good. It's because they're doing good things. And that's important to acknowledge because like that's another thing with Tilt as well. If you're flaming your teammates for their mistakes, you're in the same rank as them. So that infers what about you? You know
Exactly
what I mean?
right.
So it's actually, it rewards you in the long term if you can
And
do
that's
that.
how it beats people down, by the way.
Yeah.
People who are hypercritical of others, the moment they make those mistakes, they start to get so down on themselves. Like if I'm calling this guy an animal for doing this mistake and I'm doing that mistake in this game, then they start to, that goes within. It's like, fuck, I'm so shit at the game. And that's where you hear all that self-deprecating language. Like, I'm such a piece of shit. I don't deserve to win this game. And that's what the language that I use. I don't deserve to win this game. You know, and I would get into that crazy cycle. And that's where it gets very ugly, very, very, very quickly.
One more thing on the identity level stuff. I think that it's an uncomfortable topic, but it's advice I've been giving more and more these days, or just something for people to think about. Like, if you don't have other things going on in your life other than League of Legends, it's pretty easy to fall into the trap of viewing League as your identity. So especially for people who are maybe like young adults still living at home, maybe you're like not even enrolled in uni or don't have a job and you're just kind of just living and playing League all day, every day. It's almost inevitable you're going to have to tackle some really hard problems when it comes to identity level, when it comes to League. So because what you were saying there, how like you were able to separate Curtis, the great gamer, from just Curtis, you had to basically get to a stage in your life where, not to get too deep, but that there was another Curtis. You know what I mean? Because back then there might have just been a great gamer Curtis, and you have to kind of mature to the point where you can develop an actual life and like recognize like, okay, there are people in my life who love and support me, and I have hobbies outside the game and these other things in the world that bring me joy and that you live for. And that's kind of, it's not a cheat code because it's fucking hard, but it is a path to, I guess, moving away.
And I think there is no shortchanging that or like, you know, getting to that point. But what I think we can aim to raise in this episode is an awareness of what's happening. Because if you told me when I was 21 or 20 or 19 that I had that going on, it would have been a lot easier for me to take the steps to change than not being aware of it. Because when it's just happening and you're just a victim to it and you don't know what's happening, it's so difficult to take the steps to become, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To become a person you want to be.
It's interesting thinking about you at that stage when you were like that 18, 19-year-old typer, self-sabotage, really toxic. If you were to have this conversation with yourself, again, it wouldn't be an overnight thing. You would be like, whatever, like, you know, get back. You didn't have the maturity level to be able to have these conversations, but it would get you thinking a little bit. And the next time that happened, you know, it's just a slow, gradual process. But because obviously you never had those conversations bring to the forefront, it just took you more years and...
it took a lot longer.
Longer,
Yeah, a lot of painful experiences to get to that point. And that's why I credit Jono and doing that whole thing to get to that point. But we all get there in different ways. Or some people, it takes people a long time to get there. But you are right. Like if I were to go back in time and talk to my 18-year-old self, it wouldn't just be like, oh, yep, I get it, Curtis. I'm fine. But it would be those small things, like complimenting other people, recognizing how hard the game is, yada, yada, yada.
So let's say listeners here that have listened to up to this point in the episode and they go on for the next maybe few months and they really try and fix this tilt, but League is still absolutely frustrating. They're tilting. They're still smashing keyboards, throwing things, yelling at their partner. Is there a point where they just need to quit the game? League's not for them?
Yeah, I would say for some people that is the case. But before you make that conclusion, you need to do some introspection here. Like League will be a magnifying glass for not only your problems, but also your strengths. League is this beautiful kind of tool that will expose what are you very good at doing and what are you maybe not so good at doing that you need to work on. And so I think that, if you are listening to this and you are struggling with your tilt regardless of what you've tried, then yes, you probably need to take a break. You probably need to talk to some friends about it. You probably need, in certain cases, if it's really extreme, then you maybe need to talk to a therapist, right? And we're not professionals here, mental health professionals.
Zero professional
advice
here
on
on
this
podcast.
Professional League of Legends coaches.
Yeah, professional league, but not mental health experts.
No, not at all.
So there are people that it might bring the problem to the forefront. Where it's like, you know what? Maybe I do have a problem with my XYZ. I need to get some help, and that's okay too. But I think that is a very normal thing. I've recommended many people to quit League of Legends and play games that are better suited to what they enjoy about games, because they might realize there are many reasons why you should quit. One example would be you don't like the idea. You just don't enjoy the idea of a game where you don't have complete control over the outcome, right? Some people don't gel with the idea of having teammates. They want to play a 1v1 game. They want to play a fighting game. Yeah. They want to play an RTS. They want to play any number of these games, a card game, whatever the hell it might be, where it's just you. There is no one else to blame but you. Other people really enjoy games where there is replicable ways to isolate skills, e.g. fighting games. You can replicate combos, you can drill things. Some people don't like that about League of Legends. Some people don't like the snowballing nature of the game, where I make a mistake and that's going to compound throughout the game. These are things that are these are genuine reasons why League may not be for you. Now, a bad reason would be something like, oh, I just don't like it that I can't carry every game or something, or I don't like it that I'm not climbing fast enough. Well, maybe that's a sign you don't like League, but more often than not, it's probably you actually really enjoy League, but you have a misunderstanding about how the game fundamentally works.
Maybe they think they're in the loser's queue or something.
Something like that. Yeah. Exactly right.
And the last thing what we'll wrap up this podcast is about is, let's say the listeners here, person listening is already a mental monk. They're Nathan Mott.
Oh, sorry. I do want to say one more thing, because I think it would be disingenuous for me not to say this. There are people who struggle with severe ADHD and other mental health issues that League is not an easy game, and I think can be overwhelming for certain people. I'm not saying if you have ADHD you shouldn't play League. There are, I would say 80%, probably even more, maybe 50%, maybe somewhere in there. A lot of people in our academies have some level of ADHD, but I think
it's quite common these days.
Right? Yeah. But the thing is that I do think League, because it is so mentally taxing and requires so much focus, if you are struggling with mental health problems or have some sort of learning disability or you have extreme levels of ADHD, I think it's fair to say that League may not be for you. There are other simpler games that can probably give you that fantasy of getting strong or outplaying or whatever with a cleaner feedback loop that may give you a potentially better gaming experience. So I'm not going to sit here saying that League is for everyone. I don't want people, I don't want to encourage everyone to play League. If you love the game and you're passionate about it, play it, but don't force it if you're miserable. League is a hobby at the end of the day. And I think that's really, really important to understand.
Okay, so now for the mental monks out there who, they're all good, checked off all the boxes for this episode. Again, they're not just running around the rift and just having an amazing time. They get tilted, but they're able to manage their tilt better than the average player, and it's not really affecting their climb that much. They're friends. A lot of people know other people that play League of Legends. People make friends from the game, and a lot of people in the academy say, I have a really toxic friend. How do I help them? How do I show them the light? Maybe they've even sent them some Broken by Concept videos, but they still act the same, way, or they don't really get our message. How would we recommend they help their friends deal with tilt?
My first bit of advice was going to be linking them videos, so I guess that's been thwarted already. I have maybe a bit of a different approach to begin this one. Like, I generally like to just step away a little bit, try to isolate the friendship outside of the realm of League of Legends, even temporarily.
So you're saying not even help them, just see you later?
I think that a lot of the time, yeah, sometimes for sure. I mean, I've
because you say it's more of too much of a burden on that person.
Well, it can be
asking the question.
It can be two things. It can be a burden on you, like you shouldn't feel like you need to save this.
You're like a
person
therapist
a lot of the time. And you might not be equipped to do that. And if you've linked them stuff and they're just fighting back, don't feel like it's you. There's the problem, right? That's step number one, because you need to also focus on yourself at the end of the day. Like I've had periods of time where I've had to delete people from my friends list on League of Legends, and still talk to them in real life or on Discord because they're still your mate or whatever. But you don't necessarily need to have that friendship about solo queue. And some relationships, like friendships, shouldn't exist in the realm of solo queue. You can still be friends with them as a person, though. That's fine. It's also good for them to have that feeling of like space a lot of the time, I feel, because sometimes you can have that whole venti relationship where if you're there ready to hear someone's problems in a negative way, you're giving them an outlet, but not in a constructive way.
That's the venting thing.
Yeah. It's like if someone's just perma-venting and they're really tilted.
You're enabling it in a way.
You are kind of enabling, yeah. But I guess there's a fine line between being there to have a good conversation and then just being there to be a soundboard for vent. And if you feel like you aren't getting anywhere with having a productive conversation, I would say that generally turning off the conversation is going to be more beneficial than being a soundboard for vents.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of like there's only a few options, really. Like, I feel that is a really great option for people that are not ready to work on their relationship with the game. Because I do think, like, there comes a point where you either know this person actively wants to develop a healthier relationship with the game, and then you can work with them and try to help them through that process, or they're just totally not interested in developing a healthier relationship with the game, and you need to separate yourself from them and just you let them do them. We just don't talk about League of Legends together. We just separate. We might play Counter-Strike or this or whatever together, but we don't play League. That's fine.
The famous quote, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink.
Yeah, exactly right. And I do think, this whole thing of like understanding, developing a healthier relationship with the game has to come from within. A lot of the time you have to be ready to do that and be motivated to do that, right? Because you have to see yourself as the problem at the start, right? So there's that. But I kind of fall more into the line, like I'm just speaking transparently for me. Like if one of my good friends had a toxic relationship with the game and they are a good friend of mine, I'm going to just have that uncomfortable conversation and be like, look, mate, look, I really enjoy spending time with you, but mate, you're venting this. I would be quite confrontational, honestly.
Spewing hogwash.
And I would call out the narratives and say, this is not true because of this, and just be like,
pull up the VOD.
And that's another thing. Look at the gameplay together, break it down. Like if it means that, I would say, let's get some coaching. Let's get an external perspective over this. And if you're that convinced, and it depends on how motivated you are to kind of help that person. There is an infinite amount of length that you can go to help someone. But I feel like I'm kind of more in the like extreme help or just see you later. Like I'm not really in that middle ground where it's like maybe I can like hear them out or whatever. It's just like
you're probably not going to get much done.
You're not going to get much done. I feel like you neither to send it and have a very uncomfortable conversation or see you later type thing. That's how I personally. And it really, you either care about this person, they're really important to you, or they're not. I feel like it's kind of black and white in that sense. It's one of the few things that I think is black and white, at least for me, and this is where my personal bias comes into play. And be prepared for a bit of, prepare your points, think out your points clearly, have your arguments thought out, and be willing to get into the details and pull up a VOD. Because something that we've noticed in our coaching, daily actually, I say, look, I would love to give you feedback on this, but I need to see a clip.
Yeah.
Whenever you start talking about League and generalities, it's very easy to get caught up in La La Land.
Yeah, League gets confusing very quick.
You need to show me the moment in the game where you're bothered. Show me what this looks like.
Yeah.
Pull up the VOD. And then when you do that, a lot of the myth starts to dissipate because it's like, well, what are you talking about? Your jungler can't be here because blah, 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 blah.
It's
like
super
very
obvious.
It's
I
very obvious.
find a lot of players find it very obvious when they
Sometimes
pull
it
up the
just
VOD.
didn't happen.
Or it just didn't happen.
Yeah, it just didn't happen.
They thought it would happen. Exactly right.
Yeah, people come up with crazy narratives. in the
didn't
league.
occur.
It just didn't occur.
Sorry. Yeah.
And I think I was just going to say, outside of what you guys said, is sometimes people just need a break from league and time to take a break and go touch some grass or whatever, you know. People can come back with really refreshed perspectives a lot of the time. And that's what we recommend for people that get into the weeds and stuck with like a champion for a while, taking a break, coming back. It's same sort of thing like that.
Totally. And I do think League's one of those games where like sometimes you're not ready for it. Some people we've had people join our academies. They joined like 3 years ago. They literally said, I just wasn't ready for it.
Yeah.
I wasn't mentally ready for it. They quit, they do whatever, they come back 2 or 3 years later, and then they're chilling. They're having a much healthier relationship, they're getting more results. And again, they may not have, they needed that time, as you were saying, Charlie, to realize they were in that perpetual state of tilt.
Yeah.
And until they separated themselves from the game, they weren't able to kind of realize that, you know?
Yeah, I've had some people that got older, a little bit more mature, and they've said like, oh, I wish I listened to more, like I actually did what you guys talked about in the
Yeah.
Broken by Concept podcast, or like some coaching. Like I didn't really get it at the time, but I reflected, came back 2-3 years later, and then like I got all these results. So some people are just not ready.
Yeah, sometimes the message they can't comprehend
Yep.
the message yet. You know, you got to be ready for it.
For sure. Do we want anything to rapid fire at the end? Anything, because this is the penultimate Tilt episode. Any final thoughts on Tilt that come to mind?
I think the
Any
big theme
tools?
for us, for me, this episode was just the managing expectations.
Yeah.
Expectations is just the downfall of a lot of people in league.
I would agree. I would say like if you feel as though there is something bothering you, it's usually going to be some weird expectation that you need to again reflect on. Or it's going to be some sort of deep-seated ego self-identity thing. And it's up to you to figure that out. We can't hold your hand through that. You need to go through that and do the work. And oftentimes it does require a little bit of introspection. You need to stop engaging with content sometimes and just take some time. As Coach Mysterious Tim says, stare at a wall. He says that. It can be very good advice at times.
All right, that wraps up another episode of the Broken by Concept podcast, the #1 League of Legends solo educational and motivational podcast. We'll see you guys on our next episode.